What's up, guys? So, back with another live stream. um, Sorry for the music. I'm about to put on some lo-fi for you guys because I've had a lot of people respond positively to me playing the lo-fi in the background. So I'm going to keep doing that if you guys don't mind it. Um, so yesterday I did a really nerdy live stream about who are your favorite philosophers because guys, I love philosophy. Like I'll talk there's some things I can talk about ad nauseum. One of those things is philosophy. So that's why I've had so many live streams on it because I love talking about it. And to be honest, after leaving like academia, I really have no avenues to talk about the nerdy interests that I like, except for like superheroes and stuff like that. So like at work, at work normally they just know me as the guy who loves comic books and superheroes and Star Wars and anime and stuff like that. They don't know that that's just one aspect of me, that there's another aspect of me that just loves really academic stuff. But the people I work with are kind of dumb, so I don't talk about really heady stuff. Like I'm not going to talk to them about the problem of minds and stuff like that. And but yeah, sometimes I just like having a little conversation about that stuff. So, but this is going to be a really short vertical live stream. If you didn't catch the title, it says Interracial Relationships, Passport Bros, and SYSBM. So that's what this topic is about, guys. Really looking forward to, chewing it up with you guys and about that. So let me put on some lo-fi and I'm gonna get into the comments and then I'm gonna get into what I'm talking about. Okay. Shubrajati says, "Hello, sir. How are you?" I'm doing well, Shubrajati. Thank you. What is my reaction to India's election? I haven't. So there is a so there's a show here called Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. He did a whole episode on India's election, so I'm gonna check that out just to see what's going on because um, I have some interest in what goes on in the Indian subcontinent, um, and I need to visit there as well. So I'm gonna check that out. So I really don't know anything about the election so far, to be honest. But I am gonna put that on my watch list now. Now that you reminded me, uh, so let me go ahead and do that while I'm actually searching for some lo-fi music to play in the background. Um, but yeah, like I said, today's topic is interracial relationships, um, passport bros, and SYSBM, and I'll break down what all of those are, of course, for some people who still don't know about those things, because there are some. um, you'll always be welcome to your country. Thank you, I appreciate it. What you? I think you did tell me what city you're in, right? It's not Mumbai or New Delhi. And I don't know if I told this said this as well when you were on the live stream, Shubhajati, but one of my best friends was Indian in high school, right? Throughout, well, I went to three different high schools. My last year, I moved to like the suburbs of DC to live with my father, and it was like a very inter international type neighborhood, and he ended up becoming my best friend all the way up through college. We only like kind of like stopped hanging out once he got married, and I was off doing some other things and had left Maryland. But once I came back, I mean, we're still cool, but we just don't hang out anymore or anything like that. But it's all good. Yep. Indian elections last week tonight with John Oliver. Save that now. Now on to my lo-fi. Um, so there we go. Sorry for the other music. Make sure it's not too loud. All right, there we go. Kolkata, yeah, you did tell me Kolkata. I believe that's somewhere in northern India, right? I can't remember, but it's no problem. You missed out on the other ones. Like I said, every live stream gets uploaded after finish the stream, so you can always watch them. And like, you don't have to watch the whole thing, but if you want to skim through them, you can always do that. And leave a like. That always helps. But yeah, I'm talking about interracial relationships, passport bros. That's why SBM. Passport bros, for those who still don't know, is a new name for something that's been going on since like the era of World War II. It was basically a bunch of brothers who started meeting women overseas while they were enlisted in the military, and some of them brought them back home with them. Others went back to those countries and stayed there after their service ended. And there wasn't really a term for that then. They were just referred to as the ones who moved to those other countries were just expatriates, like as they're known today. But now we recognize them under the label passport bros, which is folks who travel to other countries looking for love and life experiences outside of the United States. It's caught a lot of negative flack because some of the people on YouTube that use the label have been a bunch of clowns. So, um, but what a few folks do doesn't define everyone else. So, and SYSBM is a acronym that stands for Save Yourself Black Men, which um, um, is basically about uh, describes black guys similar to MGTOW but different. MGTOW, which means men going their own way, just stands for guys who just pretty much gave up on like trying to date and stuff like that. I think that's extreme. That's why SBM is more like guys who have kind of done with the women in their community and are seeking interracial relationships outside of the black community. So that's why SBM is, and that's what passport. And then I also just describe passport bros, and that's how it connects all with interracial relationships. Shubhajai says 1:15 a.m. in India, and it's India versus Pakistan match in New York, so the whole Indian subcontinent is awake. Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Wait, is that Libya? Because I heard they are among them. Libya? No, I don't think so. So yeah, so that's what I'm on about. The reason I thought of doing this subject for Sunday, and I don't want this to get too contentious, but the reason I just thought of this Sunday is because I had posted something on my Facebook that I was sharing from Dennis Sperling. For people who don't know Dennis Sperling Esquire, he is a YouTuber, an attorney, and a writer, um, and like an advocate of black men. And I don't always agree with everything he says, but most things I do agree with him on. Um, and so I shared something he had posted on his Facebook account. And the funny thing is he shares his personal account on Facebook. He's opened it up to everyone, um, and made it like a platform where black men can share their opinions on things. Uh, and one thing he posted was this black woman who was complaining that she can't find black men to date in LA. And it's like, it is just hilarious because, for folks who know LA and the California scene in general, like there's LA is not a black majority city. Like, it's a very LA is a very diverse city. And like, I think if you look at the breakdown, it's a small majority are white. Then you have Latinos, and you have both non-white Latinos and white Latinos. Then you have Asians, and then you have others, like including black and so forth. So blacks don't make a huge amount of the city. So people who are moving to LA and then expecting to, well, black women, I should say, move into the city and expecting to find black black men only interested in dating black women are not being realistic. And I stated that such on my Facebook when one of my old college friends expressed dismay that, that I would share something like that on my Facebook. I'm like, she's being unrealistic. Like, if she's looking for a big city in which to find like black relationships, she should have went to somewhere like Atlanta or Houston or places like that. But I was like, most brothers who moved, not the ones who were born and raised in LA, but even them too, but the ones who specifically moved to LA from other cities are more than likely interested in the racial variety that they can find in Los Angeles. They're not looking just for black women. So when she went to some sort of party or mingle, she said that the person who was hosting it, a black guy, was married to a white woman or whatever, and that most of all the black guys there were with non-black women. I'm like, well, it's LA. That's like that should be expected. Like, if I buy the Kellogg's cereal variety pack, I'm not looking for just plain cornflakes. I want the Fruit Loops. I want the Corn Pops. I want the Rice Krispies. I want I want all of that. I don't want just plain cornflakes if I'm buying the variety pack. And that's the equivalent of moving to LA. If you move into LA, you want the variety. So, um, let me get back to some comments. Um, Sugar Johnny said, you said Passport Bros, right? Isn't Libya one among the example? No, that's not what Passport Bros mean. Libya is a country. Passport Bros is just a term for black men who like to travel overseas in search of looking for, women and better life experiences in general outside of the United States. And that can be literally any other country outside of the United States. The majority of them are going to places in Latin America, Southeast Asia. Some are going to the continent of Africa, and some to Eastern Europe. Those are the majority of places they're looking for love outside the United States, is Latin America, Southeast Asia, the African continent, and Eastern Europe. So I really haven't heard of too many guys going to Libya looking for women, especially as Americans. No. Sure, justice, because many people were slaves in the U.S. They went to Libya, where they created. That's Liberia, not. You're thinking of Liberia, not Libya. Libya is a North African country that is mostly Arabic and was ruled by a dictator for many years, um, Gaddafi, before he was taken down in the so-called Arab Spring, um, 12 years ago. You're thinking of Liberia, not Libya. And Liberia that whole thing happened in the 1800s. That was not something that happened in recent history. Black Americans have no connection with Liberia. Is LA like New York, totally diverse? I think LA is more, well, uh, they're both diverse, but in different ways. LA is a West Coast city, New York is East Coast. New York gets a lot of immigrants. It's the largest city per capita in the United States, like 8.3 million people, which is actually a smaller population than they used to have. Back in the 80s, New York was held almost like 16 million people around like 1989 or so. It used to be over 16 million people. Now it's like only 8.3 million people, but it's still the largest city per capita in the United States. LA is the second largest city with about, I can't remember, I don't know the exact number, but several million. And as it, as far as its size by like by landmass is much larger than New York City, but it's smaller per capita than New York City, and probably more diverse in ways than New York is, since it's on the West Coast and gets a different way, like a different sort of concentration of people than from New York. Nick Bearden says, I'm from Alabama. Shubajati says, can passport bros depend on cities? You're misunderstanding what passport bros is, Shubajati. It's not, again, passport bros is just a term for black men who travel overseas looking for love and better life experiences. That's what it means. It doesn't have anything to do with cities or Libya or Liberia or any of those other things. It's just specifically black men who travel for love and life experiences outside of the United States. That's all it means. And many of them started making content on YouTube to show their experiences and how other brothers can do that. Micah Scopic says, "Do you support Israel?" I'm from Miami area. Well, that's not a topic for today, but yes, I do support Israel. I've made videos saying why I support Israel, but that's not the content of this topic. This topic is only on talking about interracial relationships, passport bros, SYSBM, and any of the issues dealing with relationships and stuff like that. But yeah, I do support them for, and I've made clear reasons why I did. And if you want to check out those videos, I had them recorded. I have some long form videos that I've made saying why I do, and I've made some YouTube shorts saying why I do, and why I disagree with all the protesters here in the U.S. I think, well, I'll save that for a different day. saying this guy's saying, yeah, you're getting banned. I I'm not religious, but just coming here just to mock people's beliefs is kind of uh, like gauche. Shubajati says, I know one YouTuber who is staying in Bahrain, and one of the kind black people from Ohio. Mm. Bahrain, yeah, I guess Bahrain is more friendly. Currently, I would not be anywhere in the Middle East just because I think that the Israel Hamas war has been spilling over into many other countries. And most people think that Bahrain and the UAE are relatively safe from all the problems that are happening more in the Near East regions of of the Mediterranean, but it can possibly spill over into even the so-called safe countries. Like I said, the whole thing between Israel and Hamas started right there in the Gaza Strip or whatever, and Israel, but it spilled over into Iraq, Iraq, I mean, sorry, into Syria, Iraq, Iran, Lebanon. So I wouldn't be in Bahrain, but there's black people everywhere. There's a bunch of them in Dubai right now, living it up. Dubai is like the Las Vegas of Asia, well, of the Middle East, I should say. Shubhajali says, I stayed in Dubai and Muscat. I can tell you they are the most safest countries in the world. Cities, well, yeah, they are for now, but like I said, that's until things spill over. I'm pretty sure we don't know how far these things are going to go because the right now America is involved in a proxy war, and we're seeing the stuff spill over into other countries. So, um, to me, looking at it from a perspective of someone who used to be in the military, I don't think it's I don't think it's um, rational to be in a region in a region where a region that's so volatile right now, even if that current part the is deemed safe, but for how long? I'm pretty sure during the beginning of World War II, no one thought that places like France would be or England would be attacked. So I live in Maryland. How's the surrounding there? How's life there? Maryland sucks. That's why I'm trying to leave. I mean, if you mean is it safe, relatively so, except Baltimore, which is like a shithole right now. Violence is up pretty high, and quality of life crimes are skyrocketing. Most people don't feel safe in Baltimore. So, Eric is back. What's up, Eric? So anyway, I want to get back into the meat and bones of what I'm talking about. I really don't want to get into geopolitical discussions, not on the string, unless it has something to do with the topic. So again, talking about interracial relationships, passport bros, SYSBM. For the record, I do consider myself a passport bro. I went overseas, met my wife, and got married in her country. Lived there for a bit before coming back here and moving back and forth. But I do plan on going back there and staying permanently, and just being an expat or expatriate, if, if you will. So I do consider myself a passport bro. You don't. Some people think once you settle down, you're no longer a passport bro, but that kind of misinterprets what it means. um, WD says what? Where do I live, or where is my wife from, or what are you asking me? And then, like I said, SYSBM is something that I've claimed hold of as well. They kind of and go together. So SYSBM is an acronym that stands for Save Yourself Black Men, and it basically reflects a movement amongst a lot of upwardly mobile black men to leave the black community, which they find is not worth trying to keep it afloat because it's mostly run by black women who are mostly determined to do things their own and in a way that's kind of like detrimental to other people. And so they're looking for relationships outside of the black community. So that's what Save Yourself Black Men is for. So I embrace both of those things, and I'm into the whole interracial thing, obviously. She's from the Philippines, WD. Shubhajati says in most countries in Asia, interracial relationships are still a huge thing, especially in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, China, Sri Lanka, and many more. China, I can't say. China's such a large place. Well, actually, India has actually surpassed China in population recently. Um, I think it's because India's population is starting to shrink. So I think China is down to 1.2 billion and India's in 1.4 billion. But I don't know how much interracial relationships goes on in China since there's not that many foreigners living there. except in like the major cities like Beijing and Shanghai. Shanghai is like their largest international city in China, so that's where you'll find the most foreigners and maybe probably the most amount of interracial relationships in China. And I'm not including places like Hong Kong and Macau. Um, Even in Hong Kong, I don't think it's it compares to Shanghai. Also in Japan and South Korea. Yeah, the by and large, most of the people there date are mostly dating those from their country, but there is a lot of interracial relationships in South Korea and Japan because, to be frank, a lot of them find um, American and European men better mates. Not necessarily for physical, not necessarily because of physical, like they find it more physically attractive, although that is part of it, but more likely that they find they find traditional masculinity amongst these people more attractive than some of their own. So, um, Freemason, what does that have to do with anything? I'm not a Freemason. My father is, and I actually asked him, about joining, but he didn't seem, just like with his fraternity, he didn't seem that eager. Like he just said, "Well, yeah, I guess I can, support you, but you got pay for your initiation fee and such and such and such and such." I'm like, all right, whatever, I don't care. I'm not interested. As an atheist, I'm not really interested in becoming a Freemason because you have to avow some sort of belief in a higher being to be a Freemason. So I'm not really interested. It would be great. It would be great connections, but not interested. Um, Eric says I like them all as long as they are fit, feminine, and reasonable. um, so I think I should launch into. I think I've talked about it before, but I rarely talk about it like on camera. Like my friend and I, we've talked about it off camera. Um, so the guy, if you guys seen some of my long form videos, you've seen me in a car with a friend. He doesn't show himself on there because he has a job in government where he has a very high level security clearance. So he's not gonna risk that by being on on YouTube and possibly risking his career. But he talks on camera with me, and we talk about everything. But a lot of stuff I share with him off camera that I didn't share on camera. But a lot of those things I don't mind talking about, including right now. But for me, I, I'm only interested in non-black women, which didn't used to be the case like 20 years ago. Um, Shubert Jati says interracial is such in India that even today also a Bengali can't marry a Punjabi unless it's their family consent. So it's same in Marathi, Tamil, and other ethnic groups of people. They prefer their own culture of people, just like a Gujarati cannot prefer to marry a South Indian or people in the East living on the coast because they eat meat and majority being vegetarian. Huh. Davis Klein says, imagine being an atheist. The devil is real, which means there is an opposite. What the fuck? That's fucking stupid. Like, no. You don't realize. I don't know. Some of you have a hard grasp of the fact that atheists don't believe in neither the good God or the bad God because they're both fictional. Like, there's no reason to posit an invisible, all-powerful being in the 21st century. There wasn't even one back long time ago. As long as there's been organized religion, there's been atheists. Back in the Bible, they used to call them Epicureans because they Epicureans weren't even atheists necessarily, but they rejected they rejected uh, the Greek myth, the Greek religious cults of the time, and of course they rejected Judaism because they weren't even Some of them weren't even uh, uh, Israelites, but they that was the word they kind of used in the Old Testament to cover people who they thought were either atheists, heretics, agnostics, whatever they called them, Epicureans. But we've always been around because there's, there's always been small-minded people who believed in religion the strongest. That's why they make fun of that on Game of Thrones. If you notice, all the smart people in Game of Thrones were atheists. Like, they made fun of the people who strongly believed in the gods for a good reason, because they were the ones most easily to manipulate. I think Karl Marx and Sigmund Freud had that very well founded when they talked about, Freud said, people look to a belief in God for a father figure, and Karl Marx said this is the opiate of the masses. Like, that's for small-minded people. Not to say that you can't have religious beliefs and be rational, but by and large, the most rational people have always been atheists. And the fuck to say the devil is real shows you're fucking dumb. I'm more scared of what people do here on Earth than something that happens in a so-called afterlife, which an afterlife, by definition, is something that is a contradiction in terms. So either contribute to the conversation or get the fuck off my stream. Anyway, so Eric says, we were talking about women, Davis. Get with the program. Thank you. Like, I hate when people want to impose their own topic onto what I'm talking about. Like, when I have live streams, when I say we can talk about anything, I don't see these folks. But yet, when I have a specific topic, then they want to come here and interrupt with their bullshit. Like, like I said, every week I've given like a chance where we could just chew the breeze about any given topic. I do that at least once a week. And where are these folks? But then when I do a given topic, then you want to talk about random shit that have nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Vixter678 says, hello, how are you? What's up, Vixter? Guys, I'm gonna put on my glasses so I don't have to strain my eyes. And I know I'm gonna get I look like X, Y, and Z. I don't care. First, let me wipe them off. Carell says, hey, hello, buddy. How are you doing? I'm doing fine, Carell. Thank you. So I'm just wiping off my reading glasses here. I want to be like some people I see looking at their live streams, just sitting there squinting at the screen. I've seen Richie Mack do that on Zoom to Thailand. I love his channel, by the way, if you guys want to check that out. He's one of the passport bros I'm talking about on YouTube that makes pretty lively content. And his videos are high quality, which is crazy because he does all the editing and stuff himself, or so he claims. So it looks like his videos that he uploads on YouTube, they look like something that would come off of A&E. So, yeah, that's better. So, Victor said, good. What about you? I'm doing well. Eric says, interracial relationships are challenging, though, especially if you're from different cultures. To me, that's what makes it more exciting, though. The fact that the whole different culture thing makes it more exciting to me. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just how I think, but dealing with someone that's completely different from me is exciting. I don't know. Russell Hedrick says, I dare you to eat your I think you mean ramen noodles. Ramen noodles flavors are chicken and beef with cream cheese. Stick with the subject, sir. Vixen said, what are you talking about today? Well, if you looked at the title, maybe you didn't see it. The title says Interracial Relationships, Passport Bros, and SYSBM. She was trying to say I was like a professor. These are my reading glasses. I stopped reading a lot within the last couple of years because I was always straining. So I just bought like some over-the-counter reading glasses. Carell says, I hate them also because if I watch lives, they tend to fall asleep with them on. Wait, who fall? The person doing a live stream falls asleep? Super Johnny says, what is SYSBM? So again, SYSBM is an acronym that stands for Save Yourselves Black Men. Is something that came about around the time where we saw like Kevin Samuels and other people in the so-called Black YouTube, Black Manosphere space becoming more prominent and gaining attention. Particularly Kevin Samuels, he caught attention outside of YouTube, like so much so he ended up in music videos. He ended up in an episode of Atlanta on FX, and he was planning. He unfortunately he himself didn't even have a passport, so he had just decided to get a passport and was going to do some stuff overseas. But SYSBM was sort of a reflection of what he was talking about, and the fact that so many Black women were dogging this man out because he was having really difficult conversations about Black relationships and how unrealistic Black women were being towards Black men and what their expectations were. And it's like a lot of these women were fat and over the age of 30 and had children by men they weren't even married to, you know, out of wedlock, they used to say, and expecting for these Black men to come and give them extraordinary like treatment. They expected these men to be making over 100,000, to be all over 6 foot tall, all have six packs, all to, you know, be just extraordinary men, or what, you know, Kevin Samuels called high value men. And have high value men by definition are going to be rare, because if everyone was high value, then no one would be high value. And, you know, people had a lot of flack for him about talking about high value men, but he didn't invent that term. That was something that was invented in the 80s. He just further defined it. And, you know, SYSBM was sort of a reaction to how women were treating him. And then when he died, they mocked him, made fun of him when he died, saying, yeah, this is your savior. That's why he died. Making fun of a man who died, who was trying to keep Black relationships together. He was just telling Black women to be more realistic, stop trying to aim for the 10% of men out there, and if we're talking about within the Black community, less than 10%. And he even had a Facebook private group where he was putting high value men together with Black women, and so much so there was like a bunch of non-Black women that kept trying to join his group, and he kept them out of the group just to keep Black relationships, to foster more Black relationships. But aside from the fact that all these efforts he was doing, they hated him because they refused to take accountability of their poor choices they made in life, and rather thought that making fun of him and his death would mean that Black men would have to grovel and just settle with their choices of dealing with single baby mothers and fat women and women over the age of 30 who are unfit, unfriendly, uncooperative. And it didn't happen. What happened was it was a Pyrrhic victory for those women. They may have won the gender wars, but what happened in the interim was Black men started going their own way, which is save yourself Black men. They decided to abandon the Black community and just go for non-Black women and live in non-Black communities in the suburbs, outside of the hood, outside of prominent Black communities. Or they just decided to just pick up and travel overseas, which is the passport bros, and find women overseas and even live and work overseas, and just say, I'm going to plant my flag here. I'm done with the toxicity of the Black community and dealing with irrational women. So Schubert and I say it's funny how people make fun of people who are doing good for society. Yeah, like this man was famous over, like Kevin Samuels got so big, he was big overseas in not in places you wouldn't expect, like places like in Australia and Europe, because he's, even though he was specifically talking towards black men, his message was kind of universal for men, what men were going through in most westernized nations in general, whether white or black. So he received a lot of support from folks. And like, he had millions of followers on YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So when you talk about an influencer, that's what you call an influencer. Carell says you're talking about interracial relationships. Yep. He said my brother's married like that. I don't see a problem with it. The only problem is that society doesn't understand us all, and I think they are naive. FYF sports debates gives me the salute. Robert Kine says, do you mind if I ask you kind of a political question? Sure, you can ask me one, but then afterwards I like to stick to the topic, please. But yeah, you can ask me a political question. As long as it's a genuine question. Neutral Grumpy says, did Tony Stark all right. I'm not taking those jokes today, so again, I've warned people I'm getting tired of the Don Cheadle references. If you can't talk about anything other than comparing me to the one black fucking person that you know, you can get the fuck off my stream. I'm getting tired of the dumb shit. Eric says it's mainly the cultural differences that make international dating hard. I date women from all different ethnicities, but I mainly date women who are Christian, so we have a similar cultural base to build on. I can understand that, and I mean that's totally reasonable. For me, so for me, like I said, the cultural differences to me is the most exciting part because I find just dating people who come just from my similar background would be boring as fuck. Like I said, to me, I want the Kellogg's variety pack. When I get the Kellogg's variety pack, I'm not eating the Kellogg's cornflakes. That's the most boring part. I'm throwing that away and eating the Rice Krispies and the Fruit Loops and all the other stuff. I don't want Kellogg's cornflakes when I want something more exciting. So it's the cultural differences that make it the most exciting for me. As far as having you should have like some sort of similar background, of course. Luckily, my wife is non-religious too. Actually, I didn't know that going in, but I knew I wouldn't have cared if she was like Christian or whatever. Only thing I wasn't into was like dating a Muslim woman because at some point that's going to be a conflict. I being atheist and a woman being Muslim, it just wouldn't mix. So either I'm going to be expected to convert or she's going to have to convert or whatever. But I don't see how that would work. I dated a Ethiopian chick who was from the UAE back in college, and I think she was under the impression because of my name that I was Muslim because my name is Aman. But I think when she realized that I wasn't Muslim, she kind of lost interest in dating me, which is a shame. She was really cute. We had fun. She even made me some food and stuff, but whatever. College dating. um, so yeah, I can deal with dating someone of a Christian background or even a Jewish background, but I couldn't see dating like someone with a Muslim background. It's just the culture clash would be too much. But pretty much any other religious group I could deal with, like, and that's no diss to Muslim people. I just know that wouldn't be for me, even though like as a kid I was Muslim. But yeah, dealing with someone who was Christian, Jewish, or Buddhist could probably work, probably even Hindu. But I couldn't see it with Muslim. That would be a difficult relationship. If you know every black celebrity, then you should know that I don't look like Don Cheadle. Like I said, unless you're not black yourself, which I'm probably guessing. Because I've never had any black person in real life that I've known or encountered say I look like Don Cheadle. I've only encountered that online, and most of the people who said that weren't black. So, Robert Kine says, okay, so I have personally noticed that I don't hear a lot of black people using the N-word much in media and music. Why do you think that is? That's not a political question. Eric says Islam is a rough one. Yeah, it is. Like I said, I think I think the religion is still stuck in the Middle Ages. I think Christianity and Judaism already had its religious wars and already went through its barbaric era. So they've moved beyond that, whereas I think Islam still hasn't had that 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 shift from an earlier time. Because the funny thing, the irony was during the Middle Ages, the Islamic world was more advanced than the Christian world. They were the ones who preserved Western knowledge when Europe fell into the Dark Ages. I've mentioned this in a previous live stream when I was talking about philosophy and Western philosophy and how I didn't know too much about the Arabic scholars and philosophers at the time, which is a shame because, like I said, when Europe fell into the Dark Ages, the Islamic world that kept alive all the Greek and Roman philosophy and knowledge and stuff up until the modern era around the late 1500s, early 1600s, when you went from the Renaissance to the Enlightenment and Age of Reason. It was the Islamic world that kept that alive and was much more advanced than Europe at the time, but seemed as reversed. So Shubhajati says it's 1:57 a.m. Need to go to sleep. See you tomorrow this time. All right, have a good one, Shubhajati. I hope your team won. Um, which one of Batman's villains are over in your opinion? Harley Quinn. Can't stand her. She's overrated. She's annoying. Um, I think she's just so popular because little feminist bitches like dressing up like her at Comic Cons. Like, it's at the point now when I go to Comic Con, I just ignore the bitches dressed up as Harley Quinn. Like, they fucking annoy me. Like, I hate that character. I like the original character back on Batman the Animated Series, but really can't stand the character anymore, and can't stand how they basically use the Arkham games version of her in all the movies. So that's I could be done. I'd be perfectly happy with them killing off the Harley Quinn character. Carell says, I think it's also the way one is brought up, be it Christian, be it Islam. In the end, one needs to compromise to meet each other 50-50 or a relationship will not work. Yeah, but I'm just saying, I think there's going to be a distinct cultural clash between a Muslim and non-Muslim person in a relationship. One of the other people are going to have to convert to make that relationship work, especially when you include family and children. I have a friend right now going through it, and he's I don't know if he's Christian, but he has he holds belief, religious belief, but but his soon to be ex-wife is Muslim, and it just won't work out. So what is SYBM thingy? So I just explained it just 5 minutes ago. SYSBM is an acronym that stands for Save Yourselves Black Men. It refers to an attitude amongst a lot of black men today that they are no longer interested in black women nor being a part of the black community because they see the black community as being toxic and dysfunctional, and they think that largely this is the fault of black women who have become the more prominent within the community, and they're bolstered by these simp pro blackity black uh, leaders like Dr. Umar Johnson, who basically um, glorify their bad behavior, and that this bad behavior is toxic for a black community. This is why the black community is behind most people in almost every on almost every different measure, where we're talking about academic, financial, social, so forth, and they're like the most unmarried community, whereas in earlier times, up until the 60s, black people were the most married people in America at the time. Victor says, "Oh, you're very chill. By the way, just you just explained this again for me. Thank you so much. I don't problem. Yeah, I don't have any problem over communicating." Robert Kahn says, "Which one of his villains do you believe is the most dangerous outside of Joker?" You got a few. I mean, you got Hush. You know, if you know the Hush character, Thomas Elliot. You got the brand new one, the 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 Batman who what's it called, the Batman Who Laughs. You know, this guy who was a Bruce Wayne from an alternate dimension who was poisoned by the Joker's gas, so he still has the intelligence of of Bruce Wayne and all his abilities, but he also has but he's now completely psychotic and went across the DC multiverse, killing other versions of Batman. He's one of the most deadliest villains. Um, then you have Prometheus, who's like an evil version of Batman. You have Ra's al Ghul, who's a pretty good foil to Batman, and it's many others. Um, yeah, for me, maybe the Batman Who Laughs. That guy seems the scariest to me. Then there's also right now, there's his alternate personality, Czar and R. Czar and R was actually Bruce Wayne's. Um, well, it started from an old Silver Age comic where he went to another world where in that world he gained pretty much all the powers of Superman. They called him the Batman of Czar and R. But then they revived that old Silver Age comic book storyline and made it now that it's a part of his psyche that he uses in case he's ever compromised mentally, like if he's like brainwashed or taken advantage of mentally or put under magic or whatever, that he will automatically like switch into the Zara and Nara character. And the Zara and Nara character is just completely, he's like the version, you know, like with Wolverine, like how he'll go into berserker mode. If something happens to him mentally, he'll go into this berserker mode and just wild out. So Zara and R is like Bruce Wayne's version of Batman in case he's ever mentally compromised. He'll switch into Zara and R and just completely just go ballistic and do whatever needs to be done to get rid of the people trying to hurt him. But recently, it seemed that per, that this part of his psyche has gained his own sentience and developed a Batman AI to rule in case Batman ever dies, and this would basically protect Gotham City. But it seems like this has gone haywire, and there's a whole storyline dealing with that. So that might be his strongest, his biggest villain right now is his Zar and R and Batman AI that he created. Um, and most people then, aside from that, the Zar and R gained his own sentience and stuff. Like he was pretending to be the actual Batman and Bruce Wayne, but apparently a lot of people in the Batman family knew that wasn't really him, but they were pretending that they didn't know. So it's a good storyline. I haven't read all of it, but that might be one of his biggest foils, which is basically a version of himself, or like I said, either Hush or the Batman Who Laughs. One of those outside of the Joker, of course. The soul food to die for. I don't. I don't get that. Eric says Dr. Umar is a clown on many levels. Definitely. He's not even consistent. Like he was clowning guys for like the black guys for going overseas and all that stuff, like the passport bros and all that, because he wants just pro blackity black relationships and all this. But this Negroid himself has children out of wedlock or illegitimate children. So he didn't marry the women he got with. He's never been married, but he keeps telling black men they need to marry, which is another reason I don't respect a lot of pro blackity blacks like him and that idiot O'Shea Duke Jackson, who has a YouTube following. Um, because all the pro blackity black people telling black men to marry black women aren't even married themselves. So how are you going to tell someone to do something and you're not even following your own advice? Um, on top of that, Umar then traveled to the DR, and then he was like, Dominican women are black, my brothers. Dominican women are black, my brothers. I'm like, man, shut your dreadlock, incense burning, bean pie eating, fat ass, like dashiki wearing, crackerjack box psychology degree ass up. And where's the so-called school, Dr. Umar, that he was supposed to put up? He got thousands to millions of dollars from black men who used to still believe that in his message 12, 13 years ago, and conned them out of like thousands to millions of dollars to open up the so-called all-black school that he's never done. He's a con man. He's full of shit, and he only caters to black women who don't want to be held accountable for their poor decisions. Umar is a complete clown on many levels, exactly like you said. And so are most of those other pro blackity black folks. Some of them I won't mention by name because they go hard in the paint online. But I don't have a problem making fun of Dr. Umar Johnson or O'Shea Duke Jackson. Bunch of clowns. Fairy Fail says we talking Batman last. I was just answering Robert's question, Fairy Fatale. This topic is about interracial relationships, passport bros, and SYSBM. I was just answering this question about Batman because he asked whom did I think was the deadliest villain outside of the Joker, and I said probably the Batman who laughs, or Batman's psyche, which has gained his own sentience, which is Zer and R. All right, neutral, you're gone. You're a fucking idiot. Eric says he has never been married and tries to shame and insult men who are doing better and have done better than him. Exactly. Like he has bastard children. He's telling black men they need to do better. He needs to do better. CJ John says buck fighting. That is all. I'll go along with that. Um, but then it's like dick policing. Like, how are you going to tell other black men whom they should be dating? Knowing there's nothing more personal outside of like, death that you should be concerning yourself with what people should be doing. Like, you can't tell people where they should be putting their genitals when it comes to other consenting adults. Telling black men they should only be dating black women, and if they do, they can't care about black political issues. It's a farce. And they're con men. And like I said, the pro black movement, and I've mentioned this, I did a whole other live stream on this. I think the whole pro black power movement has been a sham for the last 60 years. Even Martin Luther King rejected the black power movement back in the 60s because he saw it wasn't productive. Avi Weingarten just left a period. I don't know what that is. A wine. I don't know. It's a Weingarten. I think it's Weingarten, right? But anyway, I don't know what the period stands for. One of I actually remember one of my first non-black friends that I made was a Jewish girl, Orthodox Jewish girl at that. When I lived in Baltimore City, I lived in the area of Baltimore called Park Heights. Park Heights is is two different types of places. Like you have the Park Heights, which is like mostly black, and within that black community, there's a Jamaican community. I kind of live somewhere in between these three communities, like the largely just black area, which was very violent, very very dangerous, and there was the Jamaican community, which is like a subset of that part, and then there was the Jewish community within Park Heights, and a lot of them were Hasidic or Orthodox Jews. And I remember as a little kid, I used to ride my big wheel down the street. Me and my best friend would ride our big wheels up and down the street, and it used to be this Jewish guy, Orthodox Jewish guy, Hasidic, has the curls, had the little fur hat and all that stuff. He would just stare outside his window, and we used to be scared of him. Like as soon as we saw him, we would just rev up our big wheels and try to get away from his gaze. And then one day I was outside just playing, and this girl befriended me, and we just started talking, and she asked me to come to her house. I said okay. So she took me to her house, and her family was there, and they were really nice, and they gave me all these Jewish desserts and stuff like that, and asked me how I was, and my name and who I was, which is funny because like I was a Muslim child at the time. I don't know if they caught that. I mean, because I didn't really know I didn't know anything about my religious background as much either, other than my name was Aman, so I was Muslim. And they were really sweet to me, really nice. The girl was nice. She was cute. We were the same age, I believe. And I remember coming home and telling my mom where I went, and she was livid. Like she was mad. She like, don't go anywhere without my permission, which I understand. I'm a little kid. I shouldn't be going to someone's house without letting her know, because I was like 6, maybe 7 at the time. I think like 6 years old. So I understand that, but I think she was also upset that I was dealing with Jewish people, and she was very into her little Muslim pro-black shit back then. And so I didn't get to hang out with the girl anymore. But when I was still like ride my big wheel or whatever, I would see the father, looking outside the window, and I would, from then on, I would wave to him, because I was no longer scared of him. I thought he was just a kindly, a kindly white guy. I didn't know religious things back then. But yeah, that was one of my first non-black friends I've met. So anyway, I don't know who Ken Carson is. If it has nothing to do with this topic, I don't care. Again, the topic is interracial relationships, passport bros, SYSBM, that sort of stuff. If we're not talking about interracial relationships or whatever, I really don't care about what you're talking about. Every week I do a live stream where we can talk about random things, and you guys are nowhere there to contribute to the conversation, but then you want to talk about random shit when I have a specific topic in mind. So I'm not engaging in anything that doesn't deal with this topic. Go somewhere else for that. Like I can see why the average IQ of America has dropped, because some of you have no comprehension skills. Anywho, so as I stated earlier, I consider myself SYSBM and passport bros. Like I said, I've dated interracially since I left college, exclusively non-black women. All right, Palmer, you're gone. I don't give a fuck what you're talking about. You sound like an idiot, especially if you using the name of that fucking idiot rapper who died from overdosing. I don't give a fuck. Fuck, like, fuck Lil Pumper or whatever his name is, and fuck your whole fucking dumbass generation. A bunch of idiot low testosterone, bunch of dreadlock idiots. I hope there is a World War III, just so y'all fucking idiots will have to fight it. Can't stand these dumb little young bastards. Anyway, sorry. Harry says, I think YouTube is censoring my comments. Uh, I don't see any, so they might have, because usually it'll say show or hide, and unless it's like trolling, I'll always hit show, but I haven't seen any comments from you, Eric, so they must have, because sometimes people think I'm doing it and I'm not doing it. It'll either autom it'll either automatically censor something, or it'll give me the choice to either show or hide a comment, but it didn't show me that. Evan says you look like Gus from Breaking Bad. Don't look like Gus Fring or whatever the guy's name is. Tom Azul says World War III is spiritual or physical. Huh? No, I'm talking about a actual global global conflict. I'm not talking about spiritual. I don't delve in spiritual. I'm talking about I'm talking about a bunch of young men who have no direction in life, who need to fight a war to learn their traditional roles in society and stop acting like morons. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, YouTube censorship, it's all over social media, Eric. Like Facebook, I think Facebook is way worse than YouTube. But then but then the comments on YouTube are like way worse than Facebook at the same time. So I don't know. I know, yeah, they delete comments that aren't offensive, and most people think it's the content creator doing it, but it's not. Because I used to think the same thing before I was making content. I was thinking when I left comments that it was the content creator, like, automatically, like, blocking it, but it's not. It's their algorithm. Because the way they look at it, like, everything they do with their algorithm is based on them being friendly towards advertisers. That's what they care about. Like, they're like, YouTube started off as being sort of like a place where you could just post anything, like, like, what did they used to call that that type of TV back in the day, like, that Wayne's World was like making fun of, like, that sort of whole whatever you call it. But that's how YouTube started, right? But now they want to make it advertiser friendly. Like, they're trying to make it where it's something aligned with, like, major, like, like the major TV and media networks. So stuff that doesn't fall in line with that, they're kind of pushing. Like, that's why you see a lot of the manosphere being kind of pushed away, and a lot of those guys are going over to Rumble and Kick, because YouTube doesn't want to have content creators that post contentious stuff. Since a lot of advertising is actually geared towards women, that's why you don't find a lot of manosphere stuff being supported heavily on the YouTube anymore, because a lot of the manosphere stuff isn't friendly towards the sort of advertisers who want to market stuff to women. So Eric says, I was raised in a black community. Most of my dating history is black women, and the people who I had issues with were the pro-black guys. Yeah, I can see that, because they probably didn't want you dating their women, right? Like I said, I don't take pro-black people seriously. Like, as I mentioned, the whole Black Power movement has been around for 60 plus years, and it has shown it hit in for it's been around for over half a century, and it's yielded no fruits. The best thing you can say about the Black Power movement is that it's given black children a positive self-concept of themselves. But beyond that, it doesn't help them academically, it doesn't help them financially, it doesn't help them socially. It's Stoner School said, I'm going to turn all your blue eyes brown. But but snap, I'm colorblind. Okay. Well, blue eyes are recessive genes anyway. They're recessive alleles, so um, they were never the majority, unless you're talking about a specific Northern European folks, and even then, again, the blue eyes is a recessive allele. I'm sorry, and they can show. And on top of that, blue eyes can actually show up in black people. There are black people who have blue eyes. Look at the people, the Melanesian people over in the Pacific Islands. Similar to green eyes. My one of my sisters, she has green eyes. But I don't know if you think you like King Edward, you're gonna just breathe them out, right? I don't know. That's the joke with the knock. We call it noctis. I forgot what you call it. By the way, that wasn't an actual rule, even though that was prominent in Braveheart. That turns out not that really rarely ever happened in medieval Europe for obvious reasons. Is that blue eyes aren't going to get any whiter? Thomas Zulu says, what can help us young men to find ourselves in this modern world? First, higher education. Higher education, you need that. And no matter, it doesn't necessarily have to be college, but you need education beyond high school to make it. You need to either be learning a trade, going to college, or the military. You need some training beyond high school to make it. That's number one. Number two is you should look to reason to guide you in your decisions, which means maybe, again, going to higher education, and you don't even need higher education. There are books available. Take some lessons in critical thinking skills. There are books for free you can get online on critical thinking skills. I actually have been toying with the notion of actually writing my own books. This is critical thinking for black people, which I open to everyone, of course, but I have been toying with writing books at how to think critically for black people. I think it's woefully is sorely needed in the black community. And look for positive male figures that you can shadow. There are many of them out there. And physical fitness, we need that. A lot of people in the black community are not physically fit, particularly the women. But even the black men, they need to be more physically fit. I think all gentlemen should be fit and know how to defend themselves and their families. That's offhand what I can recommend, unless you have something specific in mind. Stoner School says, I have 6 nationalities in me. You mean ancestries? Because you can't have, unless you got like 6 different passports. Like, you're not going to be of 6 different nationalities. But I get what you mean. Eric says Braveheart was not historically accurate one bit. It's not, but it was an awesome movie. I love that movie. I made my wife watch it with me. She liked it. It's Kelly says, wait, Braveheart wasn't historically accurate? Absolutely not, Kelly. That was not historically accurate one bit. Like King Edward or King Edward Longshanks, that was not accurate. The depiction of him, nor his his decree of prima nocta, that wasn't a real thing. The way they depicted the eventual Scottish king, that wasn't realistic. The depiction of Braveheart, that character did exist, but that wasn't accurate. None of that was accurate. It's just a really good 1995 movie. It's just it's just Mel Gibson at the top of his game. That's what that movie is. It's Mel Gibson. I think that was his first directorial debut. It's an awesome movie. Like Mel, say what you want about Mel Gibson being crazy, but he is a great filmmaker, and that was him at the top of his game. That was a really good movie. But is it accurate? Absolutely not. Stone Coast say English, Irish, Scotch, French, German, and Stony Indian. I don't know Stony Indian. I don't know that tribe. Yeah, that's my joke. I want to breathe them out. Yeah, I no, I got the joke. Kelly says I was being sarcastic about Braveheart. That's notorious. Yeah. Okay. So often I see a lot of people very much suppressed, depressed, institutionalized, living in the past. I'm not the black sheep. LOL. I'm the stone one. Eric says William Wallace was not the Braveheart either. Robert the Bruce was, and he did not betray Wallace either. The only accurate part was when they dismembered Wallace. Yeah, unfortunately, that probably was pretty accurate. They, the funny in the early Middle Ages, sometimes called the Dark Ages, because you have the Middle Ages separated into three distinct eras, which is what George Lucas did with the galactic. Uh, well, anyway, so you have the early Middle Ages, the High Middle Ages, and the Late Middle Ages. And the early Middle Ages, often referred to as the Dark Ages, they had there was a whole industry just on inventing different ways to torture people, and it was crazy. Like I've read something just showing all the different inventions. Like people, like there was like people basically like racing out out invent each other in clever ways to torture and kill people. It was insane. Stones goes to listen here. Urkel corrects me. Yeah. I don't. As a black nerd, I don't embrace Urkel. I think he was a mockery of black nerds. If I'm gonna embrace a black nerd, it would be Dwayne Wayne from a different world. Dwayne Cleophas Wayne. To me, he was the prototype of a black nerd to aspire to. What's your take on the new King Arthur movie? I couldn't follow. It's like the guy was English, good actor though. Which one? There's so many new King Arthur movies. They pretty much all suck. Like I haven't seen a good King Arthur movie since the '80s. Like even the one in the '90s when they had Sean Connery playing King Arthur, that movie sucked. Like I just didn't like. It was like they were trying to be politically correct in that King Arthur movie with Sean Connery. Then they tried to switch back to making it more barbaric, but that didn't work. It's just they're not. Most of those movies weren't good. Farmer's Daughter is gone. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Eric says, yep, and what is even more creepy, many of those torture devices turned into everyday things we use today, like elevators. Huh. Stony Indians originate from Alberta, Canada. Okay, that's why I never heard of them. I only know of the indigenous tribes from the United States mostly. Like there's like it's increased. Like I remember it being like over like 560 so federally recognized tribes within the U.S. Now there's like 590 something or so. So I guess a lot of them that had petitioned the government for recognition as tribes have increased over the last I don't know 15 years. But most of these tribes are pretty small. But the biggest ones like the Haudenosaunee or called the Iroquois are big, or the Lakota, which are recognized as the Sioux, but they call themselves either the Lakota, Dakota, or Nakota. Then of course like other folks, the Algonquin, um, you know, and so many other ones I can name, but But I think the majority of these federally recognized tribes aren't even pure, like aren't even full-blooded Indians. I think most Latinos have more uh, American Indian ancestry than a lot of these federally recognized tribes, like the ones in Long Island, New York, trying to get parts of Long Island back. Um, like they're mostly white. So how did I meet my wife? So I told this story before. So we met on OkCupid back when OkCupid was a really great place for finding people. It became different. Like now you got a bunch of people on there who seem more interested in talking about their political beliefs than actually meeting people. And it's like they try to make it like a prerequisite that you agree with all their political beliefs. But and originally you had to kind of tweak it to do interracial, excuse me, international relationships, because it set it within like a certain distance to meet people. Like you can meet people within 10 miles of where you live and 25 miles and so forth and so on. But if you turned off the distance, then it would let you meet women from all parts of the world, and then you could tweak it to ethnicities you were looking for. So I would turn it to specifically Asian, and that geared it towards like the Philippines and other places like that. Then you could tweak it even more by answering all sorts of questions on it. Um, Only thing I hated about OkCupid, and this isn't a problem with OkCupid. This is more a problem with black women. Black women, again, is the fact that no matter what race you were looking for, black women would claim they were part of that race just to try to game the system on the app. So if you said you were just looking for like white or European women, there would be black women still listed within white or European. Like, get the fuck out of here! Like, what the fuck? Like, or I list the Asian, and it will still be a bunch of black women that would show up in the thing. I'm like, no, I'm not interested in you. So swipe right. um, but yeah, that's so we met off OkCupid. We ended up dating, um, and I went overseas. We kicked it off, and we married immediately. I was not waiting, and that's basically how. Now it's the norm. What we did. So King Arthur movie I was referring to earlier. Sorry, I think I'm behind in chat. It's the one with the Black King. I was always thrown off. I was like not even accurate to history, but admire his drive. I haven't heard of it. I haven't heard of any King Arthur with a Black King. Wouldn't be interested. Eric says I used a dating app once and I got matched up with an actual adult film star. I mean, did you meet her? I mean, was she actually interested in talking to you? That that would that would be interesting. That man, that's funny. I have not met any celebrities on dating apps. Although there is an app. I don't know if it's still around, but there was an app just for like high profile people and celebrities to meet folks. Oh, you did take. Okay, that's what's up. Wow, the Delphine. I couldn't date one though, because knowing that everyone could see her getting pounded on on TV, and the fact that she um I don't know. And I know it's probably not true biologically speaking, but I'm just gonna have the image that having sex with an adult film star is gonna be like throwing a hot dog through a hallway. So, but that's my bias. But more realistically speaking, I know that she's not gonna be able to successfully pair bond with someone who, if she's had multiple men sexually, like she's not gonna be able to successfully pair bond with with men because the whole flooding of oxytocin is going to be messed up for her. So I think that's why a lot of Western women aren't good wifey material, because they've been ran through so much that they can't successfully pair bond with one man for a long term. They get bored, and then they want to divorce you and completely ruin your life financially, and there's no consequences for them, but for you it's everything. No, there's nothing wrong with, like I said, it hey, I would have probably went out with her too just to see how it was, but I would have never, I wouldn't have got serious with her. But if you wanted to, have a little rebound with with someone, I wouldn't knock it. Shoot, I would do it. I just, like I said, I just wouldn't have had a long term relationship with her. Now, and I dated a girl who ended up modeling in Playboy. I think I've talked about this once or twice before. But when I first met her, it was ironic. Like, this is when I was still in college, and she was like, she was interested in becoming a celebrity, but at the time she was interested in maybe non-nude modeling and maybe being a singer. And she told me she could never do nude modeling or anything like that because she would just be she would feel it would be way too awkward and shy for her to do. Then we break up for a little bit, and then we get back together, and then she's telling me, she did Playboy and all this sort of stuff, and I was like, wait, I thought you weren't into anything like that. And she's like, well, yeah, but I kind of changed my mind or whatever. And sure enough, she was in in Playboy, and I showed my friends just because I knew if I didn't show them, they would end up seeing it anyway. So there was of a popular porn porn website we used to go to, or discussion board. So I just showed them because someone had apparently loaded all her photos onto the platform. So I just showed them, and one of my friends, Harry, was like, he said, "Yo, is that really Crystal?" I was like, "Yeah, it's her. I'm not gonna use her whole name, of course." He was like, "I was like, yeah, that's really her." He said, "All right, I'll be right back." And he's like, "Man, this ninja is going to save all those." He's going to his computer to save all her photos. She was really cute. She was like black and Puerto Rican. Um, like I said, I was still dating black women up until I finished college. I guess she still counts. She was black and Puerto Rican. Uh, but I just didn't have any long term interest in her. Like, it was nothing for us to talk about really. Um, Half the time I wanted to hang out with my homeboys just because I found her boring, and even sex with her got boring because she would look really beautiful during the daytime, and at nighttime she would wrap her hair up, take all her makeup off, and she would have these dark rings around her eyes, and it's like, am I supposed to be attracted to her at nighttime when she's looking like Aunt Jemima? It's like, no, I wanted how you looked back at 5 p.m. when we went out, not you now looking like you about to clean up the house. Like, that's supposed to turn me on. Like, and that's another reason I like non-black women, because they don't have hair issues. They you don't have to worry about them. Oh, I, like, black women, you can't touch their hair, you can't play with it or tussle it or whatever. Like, don't touch my hair. Some of them, when they get their hair done, they actually sleep with their head up so that they don't mess their hairdo up. Or they get the African braids, and it just feels like like I'm dating like the Predator or something with the dreads and or braids or whatever. Just ugh. And they just have so many beauty issues. I just don't want to deal with that. So that's another reason why I don't like I'm not attracted to them. What was my major in college? I was a triple major, believe it or not. And it actually changed. So when I first went to a community college, I was going to be a business major because when I was 17, I was going to do business management, because I thought I would open up my own martial arts school. Then I looked at the Occupational Outlook handbook and saw how many hours martial art instructors put in, but how little they made. So putting it in today's money, I think it would be somewhere around 30 30,000 or at at most maybe $40,000 that the average martial arts instructor, no, about 30,000 or so that the average martial arts instructor makes. I was like, that's not livable, especially when you putting in like six, like that wouldn't be bad, but the average amount of time they were putting in was like 60 to 70 hours a week for a an income of about 30 plus maybe 40,000 a year. It just didn't add up. I'm not I'm not working over 60 hours a week to only make about 40,000 a year. So I quickly changed my mind when I turned 18 and switched to like history and social studies. I thought that might be exciting, but when I realized how dry the research was, I was like, I was more interested in doing something more science related, and ended up thinking about being a clinician, a mental health clinician, or psychiatrist. So I decided to do general biology and pre med when I transferred to my university. But I ended up, for a project, having to shadow a clinical psychologist, since I didn't get a chance to shadow the psychiatrist at the same time. She was too busy, and found out I was more interested in just the psychological aspects. I wasn't interested in doing the whole medicine route to get to practicing the actual psychological stuff. So I switched over to psychology, but with still a concentration in biology. That was my first major. Then my second was philosophy, because I was always interested in philosophy, but I thought it would be too difficult and talked myself out of doing it. But I ended up saying, all right, I'm gonna just do philosophy. I think I can handle it. And then I added linguistics as a third major because I was interested overall in cognitive science, and those three kind of complemented each other since there was no specific major in cognitive science at my school, and I didn't want to declare independent studies to do it, to put it together myself. Israel Har says hello. What's up, Israel? Eric says the last black woman I dated did her makeup so well that I couldn't even tell she was wearing it until I had her over one night, and then that makeup came off and her entire face and forehead had acne. See, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, Crystal was beautiful. Like I said, we know she was beautiful because she was in Playboy. Like, she was the runner up as the Playboy. She was runner up in her state to be the Playboy bunny. So she was really pretty. But like I said, when she took the makeup off and she put her hair up in a wrap, it just wasn't. That wasn't doing it for me. Like, I'm. It was only at nighttime that we became amorous. To put it nicely. But when you're looking like that, I'm not going to be interested in amorous activities. Um, and like overall, once I started just meeting other women from other racial groups, I just found them more physically attractive. Like, their facial features are more attractive. They have less problems in the vaginal area. So, to be more specific, um, over half of black women suffer from bacterial vaginosis. And this, I'm not making this up. Like, this is actual government data and statistics. Over half of black women suffer from bacterial vaginosis, or BV, which leads to that so-called smelly odor. Um, and I've never encountered the smelly odor in any other woman of other races that I've dated. Only black women. So they had that issue. So that's very unappealing to me, obviously. Plus, because of this is another reason why we know that racial differences are actually biological and not just social constructs. Every race of women have different vaginal biomes. Biome stands for like the their whole um, all the microbial life that dwells within a certain part of the body. So, and their vaginal biomes differ by race. Like um, Asian women have a different vaginal biome. European white women have a different vaginal biome. Black women have a different vaginal biome, and whether it's a mixture of both genetic and social factors, but their vaginal biome, like I said, overwhelmingly leads to bacterial vaginosis, which is, an infection, and the major symptom of that is that smelly fishy odor. But also, it leads to more preterm births. There's a large perception of children born in the black community to preterm births because of the unique vaginal biome of black women. Um, so again, that's another reason. So yeah, I just, aside from the vaginal differences, I just found women of other races more physically attractive after college because I've always were interested in them, but usually I would always pick black women over the non-black women in my relationship since high school. And I kind of regret it afterwards. I'm like, man, these could have been great relationships. um, so now I'm completely the opposite. Did I lose the comments, guys? I don't see any new ones. But if so, I will end this. I didn't mean this to go that long anyway, so. Where is my other phone? Are black women harder to pull? Depends. Like, I can't. For some men, they are, but let's be honest. A lot of the black men who have problems pulling, and so this is where I will agree with some of the black relationship coaches out there. A lot of the people I know personally who've had problem finding quality black women aren't that, like, they weren't, try to put it nicely, they weren't that physically attractive to women. Like, they were short, they were fat, they they were undereducated, they didn't make much money. These and so these were the reasons they were having problems, because that's why I didn't take them seriously about all the issues with black women. Like, I was really not aware of the whole gender war going on in the black community up until, I would say, 3 years ago, honestly. And I know that seems naive, but since I hadn't dated black women since like 2000 2008, um since I hadn't dated black women since 2008, I was really unaware of the gender war that was going on in the black community. And like I said, the few people I heard having problems with black women all the time weren't men who a lot of women would find attractive, to be honest. So I chalked it up to it just being their issue. It wasn't until I started, looking at content from the black manosphere, particularly Kevin Samuels, that I realized this was a problem that was going on overall within the black community. Um, but yeah, there are definite issues going on within the black community that makes it hard for relationships to to happen. But um, like I said, I haven't had problems. Like, even just a few years ago, I remember my friend and I, we were going to the movies, and this girl was and her friend were bold. Like, she said it loud enough that I could hear to her other friend. She's like, I like to take him into the bathroom and do such and such. And I was like, what? It was like, if I was still into black women, I would have entertained the offer. But this, I remember I was just looking at my homeboy. He just started, he just started cheesing, but she meant that specifically to me. Like, she was like, I like, because she looked, like she was talking to her friend, but she looked directly at me and was smiling and told her friend, and she was like, "Yeah, I like to take him to the bathroom to do blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh shit." So I've never had issues with black women finding me attractive, because I know that's usually the common refrain that black women will say, that black women will use against black men who don't date black women anymore, is that, oh, you guys just can't find black women and such and such. Like, I've never had a problem with it. But I, I don't. They're no. I would say, because there's so many different types of black women out there, they're no more difficult to pull than any other women. Now, is it easy to pull? Now, if you're talking about specific like wifey type women, then yeah, it's going to be more difficult to find them. But if you're just talking about as far as black women in general, it's not hard. No diddy, but um, but if you're looking for a very specific type of black women, specifically for like the purposes of marriage and long-term relationships, that might be harder. So, Eric says most of my problems was that I was an a-hole and would push people away. I mean, at a young age, you're not supposed to be. I mean, I agree with a lot of the guys in the manosphere today that's saying, guys under the age of 30 really shouldn't be looking for like long-term relationships anyway. That was something I was doing, and that put me under a lot of undue stress that I could have avoided and put that effort towards my career and my academics. It would have saved me a lot of heartache and stress if I wasn't looking for like real relationships until after the age of 30. And I had even told my other friends, like, I was like, guys, we are in college. I was like, I said it'd be stupid of us to get married right now. I said, not into our 30s. I said, by the time we hit our 30s, I said, we're at the now. And it's funny, I was saying this at the age of 22. Like, I was telling my homeboys, like, man, I said, do you know, realize by the time we graduate college, like, I said, the girls, I was like, right now, the girls are the shit right now. They command all the decisions. Like, they choose us. I was like, by the time we hit our 30s, we're at the cream of the crop. They aren't. I said, we make the decisions then. We make the choices. I said, so none of us should be looking to get married or anything like until our 30s. We need to be enjoying ourselves. And I'm glad I listened to my own advice. Eric says, if you're in decent shape, have your own place, and are hygienic, you can get the attention of most women. Yeah, but again, some of them have very specific choices. Like, most women prefer men that are taller and, of course, fit. And, if you have attractive features, that's a plus. Like, some guys can get by purely on their attractiveness, which is known in psychology as the attractiveness bias. This affects both men and women. There's an attractiveness bias. So attractive people are always going to have it easier, not just in the dating world, but also in the business world too. People people overwhelmingly rate folks who are attractive as more as not just better looking, but as more competent, more confident, and smarter. That's the attractiveness bias. So especially if you have a decent job, so many guys are way below average. So just putting in some work puts you ahead of many. I mean, it depends on what you mean by below average. The average income for a male right now is 51,000 a year, but most women think that's below average because they don't know the stats of what most people actually make. They watch too much. They watch they look at too many social media influencers, or watch these unrealistic TV shows, and they think everyone should be making over 100K, and that anyone making under 100K are losers. When they're living in la la land, they have no touch with reality of what the average income earner is. Like I said, the average income now is like 51,000 for a male, depending on what part of the country. And for a single male with no children, 51,000 is a very livable income. Like I said, that's for a single male, no children. But these women are looking for a guy who can provide for them, so they don't think that's enough. But if you rub both incomes together, it's livable, but they want someone where they don't have to work. This is what Kevin Samuels talked about so much. he put them on blast for being completely unrealistic. Jehovah says, "Give me 100, J, please, huh? 100K, please." You gotta work for it. There's no one's going to give you 100K, Jehovah's. You have to work for it, and not everyone's going to get it. That's just pure statistics. No matter how hard you work, not everyone's going to make 100K a year. That doesn't mean you can't live a satisfactory life. You can live comfortably. Just once you make over 75,000 a year, in most places you can live comfortably as a single male. I think most people are just unrealistic. David says, "Good talk. This is great advice for 45 and under." Thank you, David. Eric says, "I would disagree that most women think that. In my experience, most women do not have that unrealistic expectation. But again, I've been venturing away from black women." Exactly, you've been venturing away from black women. This is something that a lot of black women think. And like I said, I thought that this was just sour grapes coming from some of my friends who were not deemed the most attractive men. Because like I said, they were overwhelmingly short, fat, undereducated, and making less money. Of course, some of these same guys now are making hella money and are now traveling and finding women who like them for whom they are, regardless of how much they meet the 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 look of like a physically fit model-esque man. I look fat, but I have my shortcomings as well. Again, it doesn't matter for me. I'm already married. My wife likes me, so that's all that matters. But yeah, within the black community is really toxic. Like I think there are some women will accept the average man, but for a lot of them, they think the problem is a lot of average women don't think they deserve average men. They think they deserve the more extraordinary men or the so-called high value men, but higher value men by definition are rare. And it shows they don't understand statistics and other things. Like the average man is that median income. So I again, like I said, it hasn't been a problem for me because I haven't dated them since 2008, and I haven't been in a serious relationship with any of them since 2006. So, yeah, that was when I was entering grad school and afterwards. And it was funny, even in grad school, like I remember there was a Black Graduate Student Association at my alma mater, um, where took a few graduate courses, and so I joined the Black Graduate Student Association, and it was a mixture of men and women, black men and black women, and the women were complaining that like they were looking for relationships, and I noticed that was just like the guys weren't really checking for like relationships at the time. They were just trying to make it, because they're in graduate school, like they're at a peak above everyone else, and at this point, you know, they're really focused on their studies. But a lot of these women were like, well, we need to find men. Like, I'm looking at it now, like, you should have been doing that in undergrad. You shouldn't be waiting until grad school to find these men. And I think that's where they start getting salty. Which, Kevin Samuels had the whole, I'm a PhD. Like, so. But, um, they should have been looking for men back in undergrad. Like, these guys in graduate school were not checking for them. Like, none of us were interested in them. And the girls, it seemed like the girls in the BGSA, the Black Graduate Student Association, were looking at us as potential mates, but we weren't looking at them as potential mates. We were just looking at them as fellow, as friends within this association to help other Black graduate students. Rutger Stevens, damn, you aged 20 years with glasses on. What does years have to do with people's age, and I'm 46. Besides that, there are people who've been wearing corrective lenses since they were children. What does age? You're getting a fucking timeout. I can't stand stupid people. Fuck, I can't dumb. I hate stupid ass American dumb fucks like you. Well, he's gone, but anyway, you're gone too, Crusader. You fucking idiot. I don't like stupid people. One of my problems as a nerd is I don't tolerate dumb people. Eric says there are plenty of women out there. The ones that want to pursue high value men can go have fun with that. Yeah, and plus, and the funny thing is, Kevin was putting them on game. Like he was saying, okay, you want high value women. I mean, excuse me, high value men. Here's what you have to do. So he put them on game, but they didn't like what he told them they had to do to get high value men. They thought just by virtue of being a woman and having a twat made them eligible for a high value man. He's like, no. He said high value men can get whomever they want. So what makes you a step above the rest? And they didn't like what he had to say. Darren says, what do you think about white people? I mean, I don't know what you mean. I don't. Some of my closest friends are white. I don't get it. But you have to be a little bit more specific than what do I think about white people. Another pet peeve of mine, guys, is I hate vague questions. If you're gonna phrase a question, make it specific. Just don't ask like, what is X, what is Y, like that. I'm not gonna do some sort of vague question answer, and it has to be a specific question for which I can give a specific answer. Eric says, what I suggest to men is to do is get physically fit and financially responsible. Also be hygienic, confident, and friendly. Work on these things and your access to women increases greatly. I agree. Only except the friendly thing. I agree with Jordan Peterson when he says you should be an absolute beast. You should be a just complete savage. Like, I don't think friendly men get taken advantage of. I don't think you should be friendly. That's what women should be. Women should be friendly. I think men should be absolute beasts. Just completely savage. I spent too much of my time being friendly as a young person. So that's the only part I disagree with. I don't think they should be friendly. I'm not saying they should be like complete a-holes or just mean to people. I'm just saying they should not go out of their way to be friendly towards women. Not at all. They should be complete savages. And the more savage you are, the more they actually like you. Yeah, that's what I said. Be a savage, but control it. You can be friendly without being weak and spineless. I'm saying you shouldn't go out to be friendly towards women and other folks. I think you should be a just absolute, like Jordan Peterson said, you should be an absolute monster. Like it, he was absolutely right on that notion. Harass Foster says I'm gay, so I don't care. That has nothing to do with this conversation. Either contribute to the topic, which is interracial relationships, or find another string to troll. I don't care about your sexual orientation. Araceli says, have a good day. God bless. Thank you, Araceli. David Sanchez says, is passport bro, is that young men looking for a wife? So this is how I define it, and every passport bro is going to define it differently. I said, in a very general, rough sketch, passport men are just originally black men, but all men generally from the West they're just men going overseas looking for love and better life experiences. That's the gist of passport bros. You don't have to be young, you don't have to be old, but you have to have the ability to travel and find women, date women, and possibly even live overseas. That's what defines being a passport bro. It's not about age. Um, so that's basically it, David. And like I said, it's really started, even though the term didn't exist until like 3 years ago. Um, but technically it started way back in World War II when you saw black veterans finding women overseas and even sometimes living overseas after they ended their military service. But some of them brought them back to America. We even see a classic Jet magazine from the 50s showing this black man with his Japanese wife. And even back then, which I was completely unaware of, even back then, it was the very title of that article said, Japanese wives make do Japanese women make better wives for black men? So this was an issue. This was a one of those swept under the rug issues in the black community that's been going on since the 50s. And like I said, it started with World War II veterans who found women overseas. Like we know that a lot of them dated when they were on, like when they deployed, whether in the Pacific or in Europe. A lot of them dated a lot of European women. There was a lot of black German children born in that era from these black veterans. I met a black German girl when I was overseas. She was really cute. um, but yeah, that's where historically it started from, where these black expatriates who were World War II veterans, and today is more defined as a movement amongst socially, upwardly mobile black men and other men of other races who are looking for women overseas. And a lot of the places they go to is Latin America, Southeast Asia, uh, continent of Africa, and Eastern Europe, but generally anywhere outside of the U.S. Darren says most people are friendly and hygienic. It's also not hard to be financially secure. It's becoming harder to become financially secure. I will say that because of economic conditions right now, and we can blame that on whatever politician we want. But the impetus will be on you to make yourself financially secure, to make sure that you are someone who women would find acceptable, as well as being able to pay for your own individual needs and wants. Eric says most people are not friendly or hygienic. I don't think most people are hygienic. I, with I mean, depending on what social circles you're in. But Just Browser says, "Are you German?" No, I'm American. Does it sound? Do you hear one hint of a German accent in the way I talk? I can't even pronounce most German words beyond Wiener Schnitzel. Like those words are abnormally long. The only German I really know is from my old philosophy classes. Eric says, especially out here in Cali. Really, there's a lot of funky people out there. I can't say. I've only been to Cali a few times. I went to LA and San Francisco, which may not be a good representation of the entire state, but LA has been my favorite city in America so far. Like, if I were to stay in America, like long term, I would love to move to LA. I loved it there, but in LA and San Francisco, I didn't find any really unfriendly or unhygienic people. Harass Foster says that was a joke. Sorry, I have a question. I have a date tomorrow. I think about going for a coffee. It's my first time. What do I talk about with my date? I'm nervous. See, this is what I'm talking about when Jordan Peterson says you need to be an absolute monster. Who cares what she thinks? Talk about what you are interested in. And if she doesn't like it, too bad. Find another date. Be a monster. I'm assuming you're much younger than I am. Be a monster. You take out the coffee, get her what she likes, let her know more about yourself, ask her about herself, and so on. You can talk about anything. Your first date is just like you're kind of just testing the waters to see if you guys are actually, like, obviously if she accepted a date, then you guys are probably both attracted to each other. So now it's time to see if you guys can actually click. Don't think about what you're going to talk about. Don't worry about it. Just be yourself. And if being yourself isn't enough for her, then fuck her. Move on to the next person, on to the next one. Like Swiss Beats said, be a monster. Don't care what she thinks. It's about what you care about. Be a monster. Get whatever coffee she likes. Get whatever coffee you like. Tell her more about yourself. Ask her about herself. If you're really nervous about talking, just ask her about herself. And most women are somewhat mildly narcissistic and they'll just prattle on about themselves. That's what you do. Don't worry about impressing her. She should be impressing you. She should be impressing you. That's my advice. Darren says, okay, yeah, you're in Cali. That's not real life. That's mean. He is. I'm in Maryland, but um, Cali, Cali has more realistic areas. Like I think when most people think Cali, they only think L.A. or San Francisco. But Northern Cali is like almost a completely different state than Southern California, and the Bay Area is completely different from the North and Southern California. Then you go out east, and it's like desert. So California is pretty diverse. Eric said maybe 30 years ago they were, but not now. Damn. Like I said, I had no problems with the people I met in Cali, but again, that was just a brief visitation. It can't represent like actually living there like you do. So I'll just defer to what you say because I've never lived there. Mercanoid Peanut Butter's back. He says, "Is there such thing as a passport gal?" They have tried. There has been an effort to try to, but it's basically just been a way because it's basically just been black women who've tried to travel to who think that the passport bros is a way of dismissing them. So the fact of the matter is there's always been more black women who travel than black men because they've had more opportunity to do so. Black men were more responsible for providing for their families and didn't have the opportunities to travel. And then as such, most of them spent their younger years trying to build themselves and build their income to be able to protect and provide for women. So a lot of them didn't. A lot of black men usually didn't travel until they reached like retirement age, whereas a lot of women were able to travel at younger ages. Um, but they were never known as passport girls. And on top of that, um, they can't travel the way we travel. It's completely different. Like men men overseas are not looking for American women, especially particularly black women. They're just not. They're like some of them, yeah, definitely will date black women, but there's no men in like it's completely asymmetric. Men and black men specifically can go anywhere in the world and find women that's looking for them, but there's no migration of foreign men coming to America looking for American women unless it's purely looking for like unless they're just trying to play them to get green cards like we see on 30 Day Fiance all the time with these African dudes finding these little 50-year-old fat white women and marrying them just so they can get into America, and then they start dating other women. So Darren says people say quote what you see on the phone or social media is in real life unquote, but then you go to Cali and you're like, holy shit, these MFers are trying to make social media real life. Yeah, I mean, social they're the whole old adage about art reflects reality and reality reflects art. And there are definitely people who are trying to live like social media influencers. And that's a problem. Like I said, I make content. I don't consider myself a social media influencer, nor am I trying to be one. Um, I don't live any sort of extraordinary lifestyle outside of when I turn this camera off. But yeah, there's some people who live vicariously and you know can actually live that lifestyle. Most people can't, and then a lot of people do, and then there's a lot of people who pretend to do so, who are fugazi. So Eric says LA, especially right now, smells like a litter box. Damn. I mean, I knew it's the only smells I had out there was from all the wildfires. But aside from that, I didn't know that people are especially stinky. Homeless all over the place. People are high and using out in the open, and people are living on sidewalks, making shacks out of garbage. Well, I see that here in Baltimore all the time, but I didn't. It, LA really doesn't. Is nowhere near as bad as it is on the East Coast when it comes to like all the opioid addicts and the people who are homeless and just living miserably. I think the East Coast definitely has it worse. Like in Baltimore, I can't you can't go into Baltimore without encountering junkies, especially downtown. All of downtown in the early morning is like The Walking Dead. All of them are up early to get their what's the stuff they use to replace opioid addiction. So they're all up getting that, and then a lot of them will spit it up and sell it to other people, and it's just disgusting. And yeah, it's bad here on the East Coast. Like whether you're talking about Philly, Baltimore, places in New Jersey, it's ugh. LA is nowhere near as bad. Although I can acknowledge that, yeah, that I'm pretty sure it's pretty bad in LA. I've heard it's much worse in San Francisco though. So I unfortunately live in LA. Define for said, what is your number one goal in life? I don't have a number one goal in life. That's not really the subject of today. King Hudson 87 says, what up, family? East St. Louis watching. What's up? King Hudson, thank you. Biggest life regret. That's not the subject of what we're talking about today. I'm sorry. Besides that, I'm not worrying about regrets. That's not a good way to live, worrying about your regrets. Like I said, people need to get more red pill in their life. Stop worrying about regrets. Stop worrying about what other people think. Be a monster. Fuck your regrets. Live for the now. Can't live in the past. Eric says, I know nothing about the East Coast, but this crap is bad out here. And it used to not be like this. This is a very new thing for us. Yeah. Because the opiate addiction is spreading everywhere. Nesruddin says, if you meet your 18-year-old advice, what would you give him? Someone asked me that before. One, I would say, stop dating. Just don't worry about women. For real. Stop dating. Tell them, no, you're not tripping. Your father is an asshole. Use college as a way to further myself and get away from my family. I don't know. King Hudson 87 says, man, East St. Louis is rough, but what don't kill you can make you stronger. I don't like that adage, because what doesn't kill you now may just make your life horrible there on after. People always say life is short. No, life can be long can be long and dreary if you make the wrong choices. So even if the mistakes you make don't kill you, they can make your life horrible there on after, and you have to live with that for a long time. And I know that personally. But if I've heard St. Louis is hard right now. Like I think you guys are beating us in Baltimore as far as like just homicide per capita and sheer violence. Like Baltimore is in the top 5, but I think you guys beat us right now, which is nothing to brag about, of course. But yeah, just be safe out there, man. Nazruddin said, what's the subject of the day? The subject of the day was interracial relationships, the Passport Bro movement, and SYSBM, which stands for Save Yourselves, Black Men. So we're just talking about interracial relationships and traveling, stuff like that. Divineful, you keep asking stuff that's not dealing with what we're talking about, man. I don't care about pseudo philosophical questions. Like, again, because I have a background in philosophy, I really don't think too much of pseudo philosophy questions like that. I don't consider them deep at all. They're just deepities to me, or pseudo wisdom. There's nothing profound about answering those sort of questions other than giving you, I don't know, something interesting to talk about. But I don't care for those little pseudo philosophy questions. The problem with those sorts of questions is there's assumptions behind those terms, like mind. Like what do we mean by mind, and what do we mean by body, and all sorts of things. Those have to be defined in order to make those questions even remotely like useful to ask. Eric says, I may have got rid of the camping laws, and because of that, people now pitch tents everywhere, and the cops do nothing about it. Yeah, I mean, look at Baltimore. We got this idiot named Brandon Scott running Baltimore. He just got reelected. He refuses to give any consequences to all these youth committing crimes out here. Quality of life crimes were making it miserable for most of the inhabitants of Baltimore City. Most people outside of the city don't want to visit the city because they're scared. A lot of people in the city who own businesses are scared that they're going to, lose their businesses because people don't want to do business there. And you have people who just live there who are constantly in fear of being robbed, being randomly shot, having their cars broken into. And the all the mayor can say is, well, violence is down in the city. So what? It's like if crime was once at a 10 and then it went up to a 25, but now it's down to a 20. Yes, violence technically went down, but it's still much higher than it once was back in the day. And that's how people look at it. On top of that, violent crime went down, but quality of life crimes went up. Those are the things that matter. When people feel like life isn't worth living in that city, that is a problem. And he refuses to do it. The only thing he did was institute a curfew in the city for minors, but there's really no hard enforcement of it. And in one of the most prominent areas where people like to go hang out in Fells Point, Baltimore, it's a constant hellscape every night because you have these minors out there hanging out who have nothing else better to do. And the mayor's answer to that is, well, I'm not going to lock kids up just because they want to hang out during the summer just for being children. I'm like, no, they're being criminals. And there's no answer. Like, if you're not going to lock them up, lock their parents up. Say, okay, well, if you're not going to, if we got to sit there and babysit your children, if the city government has to basically take care of your children, then we're going to hold you accountable and lock the fucking parents up. Put these kids in juvie. It's because, just because you're under the age of 18, basically they can terrorize everyone around them. It makes me want to get my CCW permit, and like the only reason I don't get my CCW permit is just because I'm not buying weapons right now when I'm looking towards efforts of leaving the country. Otherwise, I definitely would. Fuck them little bastards. Nasruddin says, "Oh yeah, I used to watch Kevin Samuels, R.I.P., talking about black women and men relationships. Yeah." Eric says, "Not too long ago, I almost fought a 3 homeless guys because they disassembled their car engine and put it on my front yard." Whoa. Yeah, them punks would have got shot. No, I'm joking, but no, I might have thrown a few. I might have employed a Muay Thai workout that day. All you would have heard is ooey. So, but yeah, that's crazy. Then you got young homeless dudes that's like young and fit. I remember I was going to 7-Eleven where I used to work downtown, and this kid couldn't have been older than 20, 21 maybe, talking about, can I give him some money? I'm like, Negro, if you don't take your ass into the motherfucking army or something, sitting here healthy as shit asking for money outside of 7-Eleven, and take your little fucking young ass and enlist. Have no sympathy for someone who's young and healthy. Like, you should be going into the military doing something. Like, there's no excuse. Morally derogatory music says, "Hi, not an interracial related question, but on a similar note, have you experimented with bisexuality?" Goodbye. What are all these fanooks coming up in here for? Like, go troll somewhere else. Like, I don't care about you little, like, I don't care what your sexual orientation is, but don't ask me any questions related to you being a pillow biter, rump ranger, rainbow rider, Peter Puffer, whatever. I don't, like, keep that shit to yourself. That has nothing to do with the subject. Fucking idiots. Like, That's another reason why I leave America. I think a lot of Americans are fucking stupid. And it's not just subjective. Like I said, the average IQ of Americans have gone down within the last 25 years, and this was predicted a long time ago in a book called The Bell Curve. We saw a reverse of the Flynn effect. So a lot of people are leaving America and being passport bros, not just to date, but they see a higher quality of life outside. A lot of black people will talk about how much safer they feel in other in other parts of the world. Like they go to Asia and stuff, and they don't, they're not worried about police harassing them or anything like that. The cost of living is lower, so relative to their income, they can live a higher value, a higher quality lifestyle. Um, they're surrounded by people who are more friendly towards them. This is one of the reasons why passport bros exist as well. It's not just for dating, it's just they have better life experiences outside of the country than they do here. I think America is pretty much turned into a third world country wearing Gucci. You have all these little moral dejects that come onto my live stream just pretty much showing how shitty America is. A lot of the folks who come, a lot of the overseas people who leave comments are really cool people, but most of the trolls that come onto the platform are American because they're fucking stupid, below IQ, but they have access to a device that allows them to share their opinions online, so they can share just how fucking stupid they are. I said the majority of trolls are American. And yeah, I said it. Plus, at the end of the day, I can fight, guys. So you don't have a problem. If you got a problem with it, go ahead and send me an email. And we can hook it up so I can beat the shit out of you. And just be aware that if I beat the shit out of you, I'm gonna put it on video so everyone else can see it. Eric says, yeah, until they grab this stuff. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you had some words that made them know that they weren't going to be accepted on your front yard. Put it in nicely, right? Um, Crazy Muda named Ice Cube says, "What's up? What's up?" Eric says, "I hate YouTube." Yeah, YouTube has the most. People always say Twitter has the most toxic people on it. I think YouTube does. I think people leave the most. This is why I think the, when you ask why does YouTube delete so many comments, it's because there's so much toxic and stupid comments left on YouTube relative to other social media apps. Like people say Twitter's the worst. I've seen way worse comments on YouTube than I've seen on Twitter. Mind you, I don't use Twitter that much, but I I've seen the comment section on YouTube to be way more toxic than Twitter, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but most people think Twitter is the dumpster fire. I think YouTube's comment section is a dumpster fire, and I think this is why they've overreacted and made so many restrictions on their algorithm for comments. Eric says I use the long tubular device that expels H2O when you turn the nozzle clockwise. Well, also in California, you guys can flamethrowers are legal in California, right? Like they're not legal here in Maryland. Because I really wanted to buy one, especially when Elon Musk. I think that was Elon Musk, or was it Jeff? I can't remember. It was Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos when they were showing the flamethrower, and I was like, shit, I want to get one. And I looked it up, and it's illegal in Maryland. Because I've had some encounters with people in my neighborhood, like coming up on my property, that I definitely would have turned on that flamethrower to make a point. Crazy Moose says, nah, it's Instagram for sure. I saw a comment on a video of a terminally ill kid saying my pants are unzipped. Wow. I mean, all of them are bad, Crazy Muda, but I don't know. Again, I don't use. Again, it's probably a bias because depending on which app I'm using the most, I've probably dabbled in YouTube more than Instagram and Twitter. But to me, it seemed like YouTube has the most toxic comments because people are Like on Instagram and on Twitter, you actually have like a profile, an account that people follow, and it's like you're expected to have like interactions with people, and for people to interact directly with your profile and account, where it's not like that on YouTube. Like mostly people are leaving comments under YouTube content creators, and to me, it's just more it's just more craziness in the comments. Like people, because people feel that they're anonymous, they think that they can spew the most idiotic or heinous things without any sort of repercussions. Mind you, there are nerds here that can trace their IP addresses and find where these people actually live. But like I said, because people feel more anonymous in YouTube spaces, leaving comments, than they do in apps where you're actually supposed to interact directly with people, like Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. I find that YouTube has more toxic people. So, but I could be wrong. Um, Eric's a second I kept using until they removed that stuff. Then he says YouTube censors words that don't make sense. I had to describe the water device in that way because YouTube kept censoring it. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I knew what you were talking about, but yeah. But yeah, it's like if they're not interested in the conversation, then I don't know why they even contributing. Like I said, it shows just a lack of intelligence that of all the things you could be doing right now, you come to a live stream which has nothing to do with what you're interested in, just to talk trash, right? Like even if they were disagreeing with the topic, that's fine. That at least that would be talking about something germane to the issue, like I said, which is like interracial relationships and traveling abroad to find women and so forth, which we're talking about. But like I said, for the purposes of me, why I dated interracially was because I just stopped being attracted to my own women, and I just found women in other racial groups just way more attractive, and it just seemed way more exciting to get involved with them. And I find them in certain in certain how would put it, in certain anatomical regions to look better, smell better in those regions. So I'll put it that way. Eric says it's either little kids who are trolling and think it's funny, or grown men who have the maturity of child. Yeah, remember I literally said that a dozen times. I said most of these trolls are either actually minors, or they're just retarded ass men who probably need mental health. Kelly, I keep forgetting you're a dude, homie. But yeah, he said, well, he said, I lost my virginity to a beautiful black woman. There ain't nothing wrong with it. I mean, I did, but if I was to do it over, I wouldn't have. Not necessarily because she was black, but just because I think I was way too young to be intimate at that time. And then, yeah, Irish, like Kelly, yeah, that definitely sounds Irish. But no, I forgot from last time when we talked. He said she smelled hella good. Okay, okay, don't get too graphic. uh, but oh, damn, what was I gonna say? That made me lose my track of thought. Let me scroll back here. But yeah, when I first became sexually active, I think I was way too young back then. Like I said, my focus would have been on school. That's what I would have told my younger self. Don't even think about dating. Um, right now, just grind. Like a lot of older folks tell younger men now, just worry about grinding it out, making a life for yourself, because it's greater later. That's what Dennis Sperling and a bunch of other folks have said this greater later, like really, men really don't come into their own until like they're like 35. So, and even as a 20 plus 20 something year old, I was telling my friends we shouldn't be overly concerned about women and dating and much less getting married or having kids until we're well into our 30s. And I said, not even when we hit 30. Because I said, at 30, we're at the cream of the crop socially. Like, we have our education, we have our careers, we're at our most attractive, you know. We shouldn't, like, it's like right now in college, like, they beat us. Like, they make the decisions. I said, but when we get to that age, we make the decision unless we fuck up and get married and have kids. So almost all of us, except for one of my friends, got married when we were in our 30s. Like, I married when I was 39, so when I met my wife. One of the guys, he married when we were, I think he was 24, 25 at the time. At least, at least at 24, he was actually an adult. Like, under the age of 24, you're not even you, cognitively, you're not even an adult yet. Kelly says, I grew up in fundamentalist Christianity, so I didn't lose it until I was a freshman in college. Oh, okay, yeah, I lost as a freshman in high school. So that's the difference. Um, Eric says, become stable first, then get a woman. Yeah. And I hope that guy who asked me advice actually listened to me. I told him, don't worry. He said he's going out on a date, a coffee date with a woman, with a girl. And he said he was really nervous about what he should talk to her about. And I told him, don't even worry about what she thinks. Just be an absolute monster. I said, you guys, I said, just show up, have coffee with her, and if he has nothing else to say about himself, just ask her questions about herself, because most women are mildly narcissistic and will prattle on about themselves endlessly, but they'll think that you guys had a great conversation because you allowed her to talk about herself. That's all he does. That's all he needs to do. Like, but aside from that, if she doesn't like who he is as a person, then fuck her. Move on to the next one, because he should be worrying about, bettering himself, not pleasing women. Guys who go out their way to please women will find themselves simps. Guys who go out to improve themselves will be monsters. So I hope he took my advice. Eric says, I tried it the other way and it was hell. Thankfully, I was able to recover. Crazy Muda says, the IRA killed my grandma's cousin, but the Irish not in the IRA seem to be cool. Damn. That's crazy. Kelly says, the troubles were definitely messed up. My family came to America because the English were doing a genocide in Ireland. Now McDonald's, well, yeah. If you're a dude, keep those comments to yourself. I'm not interested in what men think how I physically look. Not at all. That's disgusting. Anyway, so yeah, so what was it? So yeah, we're talking about interracial relationships. So like I said, I found some of them more attractive, and like I said, I've had like attractions to non-black women throughout my childhood. Like I said, the Jewish girl I met when I was a little kid, and I was a Muslim child at the time. And then like when I lived in Illinois for a long time, I've had crushes on a few white girls. I remember one, like, she seemed like she was into me too, and she was really cute. I remember I was in 7th grade, this girl named Erin, and even there were even other people, like even black girls, like you two would make a good couple, and she just started blushing, and I was like, I wish I dated her or asked her out. There was another girl who lived in my neighborhood I used to always hang out with, and she was more of like a tomboy, but then we started getting flirtatious, but it never went beyond that. Um, then later on in middle school, when I moved back to Baltimore, and there was this girl named Tammy, and I liked her because she had like curly little hair, and she reminded me of Mariah Carey when she first came out in 1990, 1991, whenever. She looked like the original version of how Mariah Carey first looked when she first came out. With that song, I had a vision of love. That was like one of Mariah Carey's first songs off her first album. That's how she looked. And I had a huge crush on her. And some other people. Then when I used to go to Virginia Beach for summer vacations with my father, I would meet girls. It was a Latina girl I met from Ohio. She was so cute, and like I, I ended up like ignoring her for some black girls in Baltimore. That was such a huge mistake. I repeated that mistake again when I moved to the DC suburbs, and I remember the first like I don't know if it was the first day I moved there because my father had bought a place in a really nice house in Silver Spring, between like Silver Spring and Tacoma Park, if people know anything about Montgomery County, Maryland. And the majority of the people living in that neighborhood were Latino. Well, I think it was mostly white and Latino, but a lot of the white people started moving out the neighborhood at the time. But it was still a healthy mix. Like both of my neighbors were white, but it was a lot of Latinos. And I remember me and my cousin, he was from Northwest DC. We were just chilling, hanging out in front of my house, and these girls walked by, and they were twins. At that point, I was not used to. I mean, I used to come up to the DC suburbs and was used to there was a lot of Latinas in the region, but I never lived there with them, and just seeing these cute girls just walking down the block. And I was shy, but my cousin he hollered, and he's like, hey, he's like, yo, what's up? And they turned around and smiled, and we looked at each other like, damn, like like Ice Cube and Chris Tucker, like we hit that moment. It was like, damn. They would just sit there smiling. They turned back around, just kept walking. I ended up becoming like really close friends with their brother actually. So I ended up you know becoming friends with them too. But yeah, at the time I was like, damn. And there's another. I don't know why I didn't date one of them. Like, um, or another girl when I started living there, and she had a Vietnamese friend. The Vietnamese girl was crushing on me hard. They both liked me, and they said they wanted to come over to my house one Sunday. And the Vietnamese girl, was like just straight up saying, "I want to do X, Y, and Z when we come there." And I messed that money up, guys, because after I got off the phone with them, I was on a three-way call with them. I got off the phone and called the black girl and then said I wanted her to be my girlfriend. And she's like, "You sure?" She's like, "We ain't even hang out yet." I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "All right." So the next day they came over. The Vietnamese girl was pissed. She was just pissed. Like, and I was like, "Damn." And I was like, "So my bad." I was like, "I know you want to do whatever, whatever." She was like, "You ain't got to worry about it now." I'm like, "Damn." So it was like mistake after mistake after mistake like that I kept making, because I always, like, when there was a choice between a non-black girl and a black girl, I would choose the black girl. And it, if I would have done things differently, I definitely would have chose the opposite. Kelly says nothing wrong with being gay. It's 2024. I've never said anything wrong with being gay, and I've defended them. Like I said, I made a whole. I got up on my little platform one day, my little soap platform, and you know defended them. But I'm saying I don't want to hear his opinions about how I look. If it's a he, if it's a woman, that's fine. Again, I'm married either way, but I'm not interested in what another dude thinks about how I look. I don't want to hear that. Cully says, from a military perspective, gays make great soldiers. They don't have kids and are super into fitness. No, they're not. They're not super into fitness. But in any case, yeah, I mean, there's always been a contempt, like the Spartans. That you couldn't tell me of a more gayer army than the Spartans. Or like the Alexander the Great, who went around conquering most of the Near East at the time. Like most of those soldiers were, most of the Hellenistic culture was bisexual by and large. Like it was like bisexuality was was glorified in the Hellenistic culture, and it probably made it easier as a life as a soldier if you could diddle your fellow soldier. Like you wouldn't have to worry about going back home to your wife and kids and so forth. But yeah, not my lifestyle. Super straight. Crazy Moon says, I know this was more a thing in the 80s, but is the term jungle fever considered? No one even really uses it anymore unless they're saying it to be funny. Like, and the funny thing is, the whole thing about jungle fever back in the 80s with that Spike Lee movie, which is a really good movie, by the way, guys. I didn't actually see it until the 90s, though, like late 90s. But in any case, the whole thing about that is jungle fever was never new. Like, if you watch Malcolm X or other movies about the America in the early 1900s, like interracial relationships were all the rage back then. It's just that they weren't allowed to marry, but people were having interracial relationships throughout the history of the United States. It's just that marriage was not legal, but it's been going on for the longest. I'm a product of that. I'm descended from Thomas Jefferson. So it's always been going on. It's not new. It's we often have new terms to describe old behaviors, like passport bros. The whole experience of black men expatriating to other countries and finding women in those other countries has been going on since at least World War II, if not earlier than that. But we just have a new term for it. Eric says, let's conscript all the LG plus into the military then. I don't care. I wouldn't care. I would say we need to make the selective service. We should make women part of selective service. They shouldn't have the ability to vote on things that send men to war, and they have no skin in the game. But they can get to vote, and they can get scholarships, federal grants and scholarships without having the added onus onto them that they might be conscripted for war like men do. That's whom I say, but that's a different topic. Crazy Moose says Jimi Hendrix asked to have relations with his whole platoon to get out of service. Damn. Moose says beat you up. Kelly says Vietnamese have the best foods, hand down. They have some good food, but I don't. They have the best. I don't know. I love the coffee. I love pho, obviously. I love like their like pork chop. I forgot what they call that meal, like the pork chops and like the fried chicken and stuff they have. And not into the seafood that much, but a lot of the stuff they make is kind of delicious. They use a lot of that fish oil on things to give it that particular taste, which is okay, but I don't think that's something I would want to eat weekly. Kelly says not all gays are into fitness, but it's definitely part of the gay male culture to be into the gym and shit like that. Yeah, it is, because I find like when I'm overseas, like Filipino gay men would try to hit on me, like not in the gym, but like at my condo gym, since we all in the same a lot of us are in the same Facebook groups. Like I'll get DMs from like some of these Filipino men. I'm like, didn't I see that dude in the gym? I was like, why is he sending me a DM? I'm like, oh yeah, some gay shit. But I mean, literally, I had my wife in my profile, in my Facebook profile with me. It's like, dude, catch a hint. So, banh mi, yeah, I like the banh mi sub sandwiches. Erickson, speaking of Jimi Hendrix, I had a funny convo with a Hebrew Israelite a few years ago who was going off on bloodlines and how only the father's bloodline matters. Actually, no, like it used to be the other. That's how you know he's not. Hebrew Israelites are fake. They're a cult. You were Jewish based on your mother being Jewish, because it's traditionally that's the only way you knew what someone was from their mother, because there's always an open question who the father could actually be. But the mother is not with is not, something that can't be doubted. It's that the child came from that particular woman. It can be always doubted who the actual father is, particularly in a time before there were paternity tests. So it's always traditionally you are what the mother is. So so that Hebrew Israelite definitely didn't know what he was talking about. And he was probably dressed like Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z, like a lot of those idiots are. Eric says, so then I said, so Jimi Hendrix is white, then he lost his mind. See? Crazy Muda says, I found a cassette that's a recording of a rewarded person in a cell from the 80s. Should I release it on YouTube? I don't think so. I don't get it, but I would think not. Um, so, guys, have any of you traveled for love? Like, or just to found that living abroad was a better experience, either as a digital nomad, or maybe you had, where you were financially independent, so you didn't have to worry about working, or just constantly, like taking your vacations overseas and maybe met women that way. I was able to do workations where I worked overseas, and that's how I was met my wife. Originally, when I went overseas, my trip overseas was planned a year before I met my wife, because I was still dating someone else at the time, another Filipina, and our relationship was not working out. But I decided, I was like, well, I'm gonna still go overseas. Originally, it was because I was like, well, maybe I can work it out with her. But like half a year later, I was like, well, forget that. As regardless, I was like, I don't know if we're gonna work it out or not, but I'll just find someone else. And within that time, I've ended up meeting who became my wife, and said, I'm coming over there. I'd like to meet you. So she was like, cool. And originally, I had set up, I had I had the flight and the hotel and all of that already packaged. Um, and it was actually close to where she was currently living with some friends. And when we got closer, I was like, we should actually find our own place. Plus, one of my a Filipino friend over there was telling me, dude, it's actually cheaper to rent a condo than to get a hotel out here. I was like, really? And so I told her, and we ended up finding a condo and all that. So I actually already had a condo waiting for me, and I told her, well, until I get there, I was like, you might as well just move into the condo, and had her move there, and you know stay there. And it was already situated once I came there, so she was already living well, having she enjoyed the condo. I, it was great. um, then I came there, and the Filipinos were friendly. It was just nice out there, and I came during the summer, which is typically like not the best time to come because it's rainy season or whatever. Um, but I loved it. Like I fell in love with both her and the country, and that was it. Eric says, I don't like traveling much. I have to travel for work sometimes, and I enjoy going out, but I do nothing serious ever sprouted. I'm completely opposite. I hate it in America. Like I literally do like I can't say literally do nothing, but I really don't do anything in my day to day other than work out, go to the gym, maybe go to a bar or something like that with my friend. But we mostly when we go, I don't really drink. I don't because I don't drink at all. I just go and grab food. When we're out in the bar though, he's looking for women, but typically we're in spaces where it's mostly black women. So I'm not interested in look. Besides being married, I'm not even interested in looking at any of these women because I'm just not physically attracted to them. Some of them will look at me, and maybe they'll see my wedding ring, my wedding band, or just see that I'm not really checking for them, and they leave me alone. But I'll see he'll try to hit on them with mixed results. But like even when we go to a bar to hang out, I'm interested in just what the food is or whatever. I'm not remotely interested in any of the women there at all. Like it just doesn't appeal to me. Um, and like again, I'm not drinking either. So and like the only like I've saved all my fun for when I'm going overseas because to me, I can save my money up and have more fun overseas at less cost than I do here. I really don't enjoy being in America at all anymore. I don't enjoy being around my family. I don't enjoy my day to day in Baltimore. Like I hate the state of Maryland and I hate the city of Baltimore even more within Maryland. The only thing that I enjoyed in Baltimore was like going to the comic book convention, and that's starting to get boring to me now because I've done it so many times. And I used to enjoy the anime convention called the Otakon, but they moved that to DC because it's a bigger venue. But outside of those things, I really have no interest in America anymore. The only thing I might be interested in still doing in America um, would be possibly possibly visiting the so-called flyover states. All this, you know, out towards the far west, just to see how it is out there. Other than that, I have really no interest in people or places here in America anymore. It's over me. Like once you start traveling abroad, America seems very bland and vanilla. Eric says that some of those teacher conventions get wild though. I bet because it's probably a bunch of single women. That anyway, you know where I'm going with that. Crazy Muda says I love when Chet Hanks was on Fox News talking about doing MDMA with ladies of the night in Jamaica, and then he started singing in patois. Chet Hanks, that's the son of Tom Hanks, right? He's a bit of a weirdo, he's like a typical nepo baby. If Jack says hi, what's up, Jack? Crazy Muda says I heard those conventions smell hella bad. People don't wash their asses, them joints. So I'm not gonna even lie. At not so much the comic book conventions, but the anime conventions. Yeah, like they actually. So when you actually get some of those pamphlets, when you get there, hold up, let me take these off. So I'm gonna show you. Well, I'm not gonna show you what it says, but I have some of those. I saved some of those things from the anime conventions. Uh, sorry, let me get this stuff out the way. And it actually. So like this is back in 2016. Can't see it, but like in the list it tells people to make sure that they're washing because there's an actual word for this for the smelliness in anime conventions or comic book conventions. It's called con stench because there's people who will cosplay and not wash their outfits for the 2-3 days that they show up there, right? And this actual word for it's called con stench. And I was like, these grown ass people actually have to be reminded to fucking wash their ass. Like that's ridiculous. Or there was a famous anime voiceover actress and singer who came to America to perform, and she had to remind her audience to please make sure that you take care of your personal hygiene prior to coming to her performance. I'm like, it's ridiculous that, but there's a lot of incels within the anime fan base, which is why I don't really like anime fans. Like I love anime, but I don't consider myself a weeaboo. I think weeaboos make anime look bad. Um, but yeah, you're not lying. There's it's an actual phenomenon. They call it con stench, and like I said, in those little pamphlets they give you when you come visit, one of the things they remind people to do is to make sure they wash regularly if they're going to be coming to the several days of the conventions. It's crazy. Anyway, sorry. Let me put my uh, glasses back on, guys, if you don't mind. Makes it easy to read the comments. Eric says, "You're damn right. Single women who are hungry." Yeah, I know. I know. It says some newly divorced women too. Exactly. Those conventions are my weakness. I need Jesus. He said, younger people, especially young men, do not know what hygiene is. Oh, they know. It's just the people who come to conventions is a self-selecting group. So comic book conventions, and particularly anime conventions, are even worse. Like they attract a lot of incels. There's a lot of incels within the anime fan base and the comic book fan base, but more so in the anime, because anime is more niche than comic books. The comic books has a more well-rounded group. Like you have, some incels who are just like, yeah, I have comic book uh, number 215 of Marvel from 1967, where the Silver Surfer first showed his girlfriend, how it's like there's a certain base of that, right? um, the, but like I said, it's a general mix. You also have the older folks who are comic book fans from when they were kids. Some of them bring their kids who are newly becoming fans of comic books. You have some of the women, but most of the ones who are socially awkward tend to be like these men who are incels between like the ages of, I don't know, 15 to 30. Um, but it's not all younger men. It's like I said, it's a specific subset of young men who are incels and socially awkward, or on the autism spectrum, that sometimes are fans of comic books and anime, who come to these conventions or and don't know about personal hygiene and stuff like that. I heard kids being kidnapped in conventions. I haven't heard much about that crazy move. If that happens, it's a relatively rare occurrence, because most kids who come there are coming there with their families, so that doesn't happen very often. Like I said, most children are there with their families. Most, like, I haven't really seen children come to comic book conventions by themselves. Not under the age of like 13 or whatever. Chase Richter says metal frames, nice choice. These, yeah, just thanks. Just the ones you buy over the counter. I also have the little plastic black ones. I actually like those better, but it's a stronger prescription. Those I keep for my bug out bag, like just as a second, in case I need those out in an emergency situation. And you never know when you need to read signs and stuff like that. Eric says shave, poop, shower, deodorant under the arms and the groin, brush your teeth and tongue, put on freshly washed clothes and some cologne. Yeah, like I said, it's not all younger men, Eric. This is a subset of young men who fall into the incel subculture, that are just socially awkward, and a lot of them who fall on the autism spectrum. You saying I don't think these guys' fathers taught them how to be hygienic. My issue is they probably don't have fathers in their lives. Single motherhood is glorified in America, and a lot of younger men don't have fathers in their lives. That's why they're so messed up. My nephew is that way. Like, so Chase says, "What are your hobbies, and have they changed much over the years?" So martial arts, comic books, anime, um, reading, um, running, which is a daily passion. I run, running is life for me. Like, I have to run. Like, it's not just fun for me, but I feel like it's like my own medication. Like, running 20 minutes a day can give you the same benefits as taking an antidepressant. So it's both something I love to do and it's something that I need to do. What else? Watching movies, and particularly like sci-fi and Star Wars, the old Star Wars, not the Disney Star Wars. Like watching like old movies. Um, that's basically it. I don't do like I said, I don't do too much in America as far as hobbies. When I'm overseas, it's different. I love when I'm overseas. I love doing hella stuff with my wife. We go like I love going to museums, going to the movies, visiting new cities, visiting new cultures, visiting new people in these remote parts of the world, um, trying new foods, um, just having a blast, like just doing stuff like that. But I don't do any of that stuff in America because I just don't enjoy America anymore. Crazy Moon says, "Do you know if the video game cons have issues with this too?" Pretty sure they they're all overlapping. I haven't been to a video game con, but a lot of the conventions, like the anime conventions, have a section just for like video games in it because the anime and manga overlaps with a lot of the Japanese video games, so they all have a section for like the arcades as well. Yeah, most of those conventions are, like I said, they're self-selecting groups. So within that, you're gonna find a lot of socially awkward men gravitate towards geeky interests because they don't have to be social with other people to enjoy those hobbies, right? So definitely video. I've always thought video gamers and anime folks are equally awkward. Like I said, comic book people are more well-rounded than the anime and video gamers, just because comic book people is a white isn't as in America. It's not as niche. Like you have, because like I said, you'll have the little incel types in the comic book convention, but again, you'll also have like the middle-aged guy who has a family who just enjoyed reading comic books since he was a kid, like myself. Um, you'll have women who love like some of the more progressive messages to come out of comic books nowadays. Um, you'll have young kids who just love superheroes because superheroes more or less are our modern day gods. So a lot of for a lot of young people, superheroes are aspiration to them. So you get a mix, but then like you have some of the incels, but yeah, you'll see a lot more of them in the video game and anime sectors. There's one worse than all of them. There's the BronyCon. If you haven't heard of BronyCon, because they have it here in Baltimore, where they were. I don't know if they stopped, but they have a BronyCon. They used to have a BronyCon every year here in Baltimore. The BronyCon is for people who love My Little Pony, and most of these are men. Very sus. Very sus. Now, if you're talking about some people who are probably incels and maybe need to be put on a list, it's probably these BronyCon folks. Because I wasn't even into My Little Pony as a little boy, much less as a grown ass man. And most of these people who go to the BronyCons are grown ass men. Weird. They're the worst of all the conventions. Is the BronyCon to me. Chase Richter says, "I love the feeling you get after running. It feels great." Yeah, it's called the Runner's High. It's a release of it's a release of endorphins that you get from running. Eric says, "Do you run marathons or any other kinds of race?" I haven't done a full marathon yet. I was looking into possibly doing the Marine Marathon in Arlington, Virginia this year because I heard it's the easiest for beginners. I was going to do one in Baltimore, so I found out it's actually one of the toughest marathons. So I was like, I've never ran a full marathon before, so I'm not going to start with a tough one. I might as well start with one of the easier ones. Plus, I'm pretty sure it probably would feel nicer and less humid in Arlington as it would be in Baltimore. And Baltimore is kind of smoggy. So I plan on doing that. I've done a half marathon. I've done virtual half marathons where I'm, with other people, but it was like during the pandemic, so they weren't like marathons with other people, like a you know IRL. And then I've done a real like 10K with my wife in Manila. It was like for the Save the Manila Bay sort of thing. And I told her next time, let's just do a full 21K or half marathon. I'm not going to ask her to do a full marathon because the 10K was kicking her butt. But that was her fault. So I told her, let's train. And she wouldn't train with me consistently. So the day of the race, we had to take it easy. I didn't mind because I wasn't doing it really for the, for the challenge. I just wanted to do something with her and have fun. So like I said, that's sort of things I do overseas all the time, which like I said, I really do nothing here. Um, but yeah, so the next thing I plan on doing is a full marathon. I don't know if they have any in Manila. Probably they do. I'm going to look it up. But I know I did tell her let's do a full half marathon, a full 21K, which is a half marathon. Crazy Moody says their fathers went to get milk the second they heard the autism diagnosis. Their fathers don't want their responsibility. No, it's the fact that like they weren't, they probably weren't in real relationships with the mothers. It was just a moment of lust. It wasn't anything long term. And American society doesn't foster um, traditional marriages. Eric the Guapo says the comic book crowd is older too. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the comic book crowd is a more well rounded than the anime crowd and the video game crowd, which is more niche. Which is why you're going to find a, um, um, a larger number of folks within that crowd who are who are more socially awkward than you're going to find within the comic book crowd, which is more well rounded. Eric says anime is a younger crowd who haven't figured out that they stink if they don't shower. Like I said, it's a true thing. It's called constench. It's an actual phenomena called constench. They actually have to remind people when they pick up their little booklets when they come to the anime thing. Hey guys, please take care of your personal hygiene. And especially some of you folks who cosplay, make sure you wash yourselves and wash your clothes. Now I understand, if you have a particular cosplay uniform, you may not be able to wash it because they're made of delicate materials that will be instantly ruined if you try to clean them. But you can still wear underneath clean clothes, and you can still make sure that you yourself are clean and smelling well, even if you can't wash your little anime wings or helmet and all that other sort of cosplay gear they might have on. I understand that stuff can't be washed, but they need to take care of their personal hygiene, and it's not even an exaggeration that happens a lot. Like you'll be waiting in line for like a particular venue, and you can smell it. It's bad. Crazy Moose says I heard one guy took it out and beat it at an anime con. Not surprised. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's happened. Another thing, they also gotta tell these, that's how we know we're talking about incels. Not only are they reminded of their personal hygiene, they also told do not feel on the women who come there cosplaying. It's like just because these women are dressed provocatively, which is sort of the fault of the women. Let's keep it all the way 100 here, right? But they say, just because some of these women are dressed provocatively does not give you license to touch them or harass them, and that's completely true. You should not harass or touch these women who are cosplaying in these scantily clad outfits. However, they can't stop people from ogling them if you're like half naked. You can't get mad if you got your titties and ass hanging out and a bunch of little incels are staring at you drooling. But they cannot sit there and just harass these women or touch them inappropriately or anything of the sort. But they have to be reminded of that as well in these pamphlets. Don't harass and assault female cosplayers. Take care of your personal hygiene. Be mindful of your belongings, they don't get stolen, these sorts of things. I don't know what this guy even says, talking about shoot a deer. No, like, Eric Guap says, Brony, yeah, My Little Pony, yes, the girls' cartoon. There is a BronyCon, BRONY con, hosted in Baltimore. I don't know if it's still hosted in Baltimore, but it used to be hosted here every year. And they have some in other places. This for fans of the My Little Pony franchise. It's never stopped. Like there's still a My Little Pony. There's new versions of that cartoon that come out every year, sort of like Transformers. It just hasn't stopped. They just keep making new versions of it. And there are grown men who love My Little Pony. I think it's very weird. Um, and there's a convention for that. And like I said, I'm pretty sure that because it's an extremely niche crowd, I'm pretty sure most of those men are incels and socially awkward, because most grown men, and not even most young boys, would be remotely interested in My Little Pony. Like when it first came out when I was in the 80s, you know, I thought they were cool toys, but I didn't want to play with them and I didn't want to watch the cartoon. So I watched Gem. Now Gem was cool because Gem was truly outrageous. But I, aside of watching Gem, I did not watch My Little Pony. I couldn't get into it. It was just something for girls. I watched Gem. I watched She-Ra. I couldn't get into My Little Pony. That's just not something I don't think a straight man would be into. So Chase Ricky says that seems strange. It is strange. It really is. You guys can look it up for yourself after the live stream. It's BronyCon. Andre says, you know damn well you went to one. That's why you know so much. No, I know so much because they featured it on the AMC series Comic Book Guys. Comic Book Guys was a show with Kevin Smith. He and his friend from the movies Mole Rats and what's all those other movies that Kevin Smith did, when he plays Jay and Silent Bob. They had their own comic book store in New Jersey, and they have some of their friends working there. Some of them who were actors in their movies, and they show them like interacting with other people and talking about all sorts of comic book and geeky phenomena. And on one episode, they actually decided to go to BronyCon. That's how I know what happens. Plus, I'm a geek. I do know about those things. I can know about stuff without participating in them. Um, the Brony, whatever you want to call them, movement or group or whatever, is known within geeky circles. I think they even talked about it on Big Bang Theory one time, because they were making fun of one of the characters who was into the Brony stuff. But I'm a nerd, so I know about things even if I'm not particularly interested in them myself. So I don't. So at the end of the day, Andre, I can fight. So shut the fuck up. Anyway, Eric says, I hate running. I do a 30-minute HIIT workout for my cardio. It's more engaging to me than running is. Yeah, however you get your cardio. I'm a fan of running, but it's not the only way you can get your cardio. Another way is through rucking, which is probably more relevant to um, combat fitness, is doing rucking. Like you can do rucking out in a hike to kind of simulate doing assault patrols and stuff like that. So I think rucking is a good form of cardio. A HIIT workout is good. Circuit training, but running for me, I think, is the king of exercises. I think people only hate it because it's tough, but it's worth it because it has so many overall benefits and so many different ways you can run. But yeah, get your cardio in however you can. Crazy Muda says, so with the brony con, is only men allowed, and do they have Christians to take their asses to jail? No, it's not only. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of children there. I'm just saying it seems sus to me that the bronies are specifically a bunch of men. But no, it's not only women, men who are allowed. Of course, there's women. There are female bronies, and there's a lot of children who love My Little Pony. But there's a whole like that particular fan base are mostly men, and yeah, so that is weird. Chris Hansen might need to go. He said, you know damn well while you were watching Gem, you want a piece of that holographic ass. Like I said, Gem was truly outrageous. It's not. um, yeah, as a kid, they were hot. You know who else I like? As a, I had a lot of. It's weird. I had a lot of crushes on female cartoon characters. My biggest, the biggest two female cartoon crushes I had wasn't Gem. Uh, it was Rainbow Bright. Was I really like Rainbow Bright. I even went to go see the Rainbow Bright movie. Most people don't even remember there was a Rainbow Bright movie, but it was actually made by an anime studio, so it actually was like anime. And you know, like female action anime is called sh- um, shoujin, I think. I think female action um, anime and manga is called shoujin. So I think the Rainbow Bright movie would have been considered a shoujin movie, you know, similar to like Sailor Moon. So I really had a crush on Rainbow Bright for some reason, and on Zia from this old French anime called um, Lost the Mysterious Cities of Gold. They used to come on Nickelodeon in the 80s, and they did a revival of that show in the 2000s as well. But I didn't even know about that until relatively like several months ago, actually, that they had revived that old cartoon from the 80s. But it's called Mysterious Cities of Gold, and Zia was this like Inca priestess in on the show. I had a huge crush on her. I'm surprised I didn't end up with a with a Latino girl because of that. But yeah, that's funny. But no, the show was just good. Despite Gem and the holograms being like cute, um, I just enjoyed the show because it was made by the same people who produced GI Joe and Transformers. It was um, uh, Marvel, Sunbow. Like they created and they worked along with Hasbro to make the toys. Um, so that collaboration between Marvel, Sunbow, and Hasbro was the same people who did like GI Joe, Transformers, Mask. So that's why I enjoyed it. Since some people wanted to tap Lola Bunny, that seems pretty sus to me. Yeah, I was already too old to be into that. Plus, that's an animal. I was never into like the furry thing. That's probably why you have so many people doing the whole furry things today. It's because I don't know they've had attractions to some of the female animal characters from cartoons. I can't remember any female animal character I was attracted to. I was only attracted to human cartoon characters like I said, Rainbow Bright and Zia from Mysterious Cities of Gold. Those were my two cartoon crushes. But anyway, that's probably what, like I said, those sort of things probably led me to having interests outside of the black community. Why I'm more interested in interracial relationships, because it wasn't just purely just you know stuff within my community that interested me. But like I said, the speculation always is with black men who date interracially is that either they weren't able to get black women, which wasn't a problem for me, or they some sort of shortcomings of themselves, and it just wasn't that issue for me. But anyway, guys, I'm about to get off soon. Unless people have any other questions or comments, like I said, dealing with like interracial relationships, passport bros, SYSBM, or something related to that remotely, if it has something to do with that. Because, that's going to become a whole other topic talking about conventions and stuff like that. Crazy Muda says, do you think Dr. Umar is going to make our youth date more within their lane? No, no, because black men don't take him seriously anymore. They did 12 years ago, but the problem was, one, he conned a lot of them out of their money because he promised to build this black school in Philadelphia that's never shown any sort of any progress whatsoever. Two, he's most socially mobile black men don't care about pro blackity black stuff. Like, he's talking to a very niche audience of men, and most of his audience are black women. Like, he's what he says is mostly irrelevant to most black men, and some of them might agree with some of his beliefs, but more than but overall, most of us consider him a joke. Like, we share stuff that he says mostly because it's funny, not really because we really care what he thinks. So he's not going to get anyone to stay within their lane, and that's another big problem with the pro-black movement is that it's turned into trying to police, dick police black men. Like, you want to dick police black men, but you're not going to tell these women, hey, stop sleeping with Pookie and Ray Ray, stop having children outside of marriage. Um, stop having unrealistic expectations of men. He, no, they just want to dick police men because that's where the money is. But they make no efforts to put that same sort of responsibility on the black women. So no one is going to stay in their lane based on what Dr. Umar says, nor any of these other pro-blackity black people. Not even people I might like Tariq Nasheed. Like, no one really takes them that seriously because upward black men on their grind don't give a fuck what other people think. We only care about what people think who we're trying to get to on that totem pole. Like, the people above us that they're inspiring us to do better. That's who we care about. We don't care about the people at our level or below us telling us what we should be doing. Who cares? Dr. Umar is a living hypocrite. He has bastard children. Why didn't he marry those women himself? But he wants other black men to do so. He's even gone on live Instagram saying that he's not going to marry because he don't want some woman telling him how to live and getting into his personal business. What do you have to hide, Dr. Umar? Um, and he's an embarrassment to black psychologists. He makes them look unprofessional because most of his opinions he share are not based on psychological research. He's just sharing his own personal opinions and then using his authority and psychology as an irrelevant appeal to authority based on his shoddy expertise. So no one takes Umar and all those other clowns seriously in the pro-black space, other than people who already believe that stuff. But they're not going to convert anyone who doesn't already believe that shit. Jim Baker, Marcus Garvey route. Yeah, I guess. Marcus Garvey, like, someone asked me before what I thought about him, and I said, to be honest, while I do agree with some of the things that Garvey was trying to do, I think he was a con man. So I think the whole pro-black movement started out with a bunch of con men, and it's never really changed, which is why Dr. King was against them 60 years ago. Again, another troll, like I said, just an indication of America's low IQ. But and yeah, I don't have no problem saying that. Like I said, Americans have low average IQ compared to most other Western nations. And it's gone down the last 25 years because of the reverse Flynn effect. The Flynn effect was a phenomena recognized in the early 20th century when they started giving out IQ tests, showing that each generation they had to renormalize the test because people from the newer generations were doing better on the older test. And so originally people thought, well, is this showing that people are getting smarter? That wasn't the case. What happened was that people were better at taking those tests because there was more reflection of that in education that emphasized abstract reasoning, which is what IQ tests test. So it kept going up. So each new generation they had to renormalize the test to reflect the performance of the current generation. But up by when we hit the early 2000s, we saw that actually reverse, where people of the newer generations were doing more poorly than the previous generations on the IQ test. And that was predicted back in the 90s by a bunch of people who worked in psychometry. And we see it reflected in a lot of these idiots online today. Like I said, social media is like almost a de facto IQ test because people kind of display how stupid and smart they are by the things that they say and the things that they share. I don't know what you're talking about, Penetrator. Been a cooler name if it was Devastator, but you probably don't watch Transformers. I would have chose Omega Supreme personally. But yeah, if there's not gonna be any more questions on the topic, I'm gonna dip out, go work out, eat all that good stuff on a Sunday, talk to the wifey. But if you guys enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Hit the notifications and share. It helps because like everything you do on YouTube is algorithmic based, like from um, how much people comment, how long people watch, the content of the videos, all that sort of stuff. How many people like the video, how many people subscribe, all that's relevant. Because I was just doing it as a hobby, but I am close to being monetized, so I figured let's just go all out with it and become monetized. And I'll probably start making some higher production videos as well, like pre-recorded videos. And I'll start doing super chat live streams where people can actually donate live while during the channels, and I'll shout them out and read their comments live on air. I mean, it's pretty much similar to what I'm doing now, but everyone else will actually get to see, in a super chat, like what that comment is as the person actually, does it. So that would be kind of fun to do that. And we can delve into other topics, and then I plan on having my wife on the channel a little bit more. I haven't really displayed her on the channel because I didn't want to use her for views. But I do have a few videos showing her. If people are interested, I have a video of her reaching the summit of the highest mountain in the Philippines with her travel group. I have some other pictures of her on vacation with her family. I have another video with all her Swiftie friends at the Eras concert tour film last year. They like they went to the largest mall in the Philippines. Well, sort of the largest mall in the Philippines, not including the Mall of Asia, and pretty much just sold out the cinema every time they had their people there to watch this Swiftie concert tour. So I have stuff of her doing that. What else have I have? guess that's pretty much it. And like she's filmed a video showing her camping backpack because I did a video last week or 2 weeks ago showing my bug out bag, and she said that was cool. I want to do it too. So she's showing her camping backpack, but she had to edit it because the sound was pretty messed up. So I plan on showing that as soon as she gives that to me with the new edits. I actually have to check because she may have already sent it to me, and it's like in my Google Drive, and I haven't checked. I need to do that. Also, she was going to do a little walk around video in BGC, which is Bonifacio Global City. It's like a part of Metro Manila. Just like a very um, it's it's more one of the more upscale places within Metro Manila. It will probably remind you of Midtown Manhattan, right, or downtown LA. It's pretty posh. So she's gonna do a little walk around. It was basically like a congratulations to me after I hit 1,000 subs like uh 4 weeks ago. So she'll actually appear and talk. So in none of my previous videos with her in it, you don't hear her really talking, but she's actually gonna talk and stuff. She also has another video where we compare malls in America to malls in the Philippines. So I walked around a ghost mall here in Baltimore called Security Square Mall. And I've seen other YouTubers walk around Security Square Mall too. So it must be that must be a favorite of people comparing malls, showing that Security Square Mall is a ghost mall. And I have her walk around a mall in her, where we have a home in the Philippines. And it's not even a busy day, and it still looks much more lively than the one here. So you guys can check that out. I don't see any comments either because the connection is bad or people just stopped contributing. I can't really see, but that if I can't see any comments, that's probably a good point to stop the stream there. Because like I said, either I'm getting comments that I can't see, or people are leaving comments and Google is blocking them because they're inappropriate based on the algorithm. That happens. Sometimes the comments may not be inappropriate, but they may trigger the Google algorithm so they never get posted. So that happens. But other times it could be when I reconnect, like when the Wi-Fi reconnects or the connection gets pretty low, that I might not see some of the comments coming in. So when that happens, that's usually a good point for me to end it. So I'll give it a few seconds, guys, and after that, if I don't see any comments, I'm assuming either that I've lost connection with the comment section, or there's really no one here anymore. So I'm sure I saw the last comments. And of course, this after I end this, it'll be uploaded so you can watch the whole stream in its entirety if you like. And you can still leave comments and questions in the comment section after the video is uploaded. If I see any comments or questions, I'll answer them accordingly, once this is uploaded. But otherwise, this has been fun. Didn't delve into as much as I wanted to, but that's because we had a mixed crowd. I think I would have probably got a higher reaction to that if I wasn't speaking to a mixed crowd, because I know brothers have a lot of opinions on this stuff. But otherwise, I found it fun. So I'm gonna give it a few seconds. Once it hits 3:30 here EDT, I am going to end this because I don't see any comments. So like I said, either I've lost connectivity to the comment section, or there's no one still here. Either way, that's not good. So I'm going to check out. But I appreciate everyone for contributing and talking with me. Even the dumbass trolls. I guess they need to do something with their lives since they're socially awkward people who have nothing better to do with their lives, whether they're kids or retarded grown men. But c'est la vie, right? All right, guys, I'm gone, so thank you. Again, if I missed any comments or questions because I can't see it, I haven't been able to see it within the last 5 minutes, just leave it. If you want to copy and paste it into the comment section once the video is uploaded, I'll answer the questions or comments, okay? Thanks.